Football, with such strong skills, even nightclubs can produce football kings. Hey! Look who's back for more adventures. We love having you here to continue this story that keeps us all awake. Important note, all of this is pure fiction, so don't try any techniques you hear here in real life. Your neighbor might call the cops. This amazing novel and all its rights belong to the original author. We're just the ones giving it voice and drama. Are you enjoying the show? Prove it by subscribing to our YouTube channel and leaving that like that motivates us so much. And if you want VIP access to exclusive content, our Patreon is waiting with things you won't find anywhere else. Chapter 226. I gave you a chance but you didn't use it. Gerald really tried his best in the front, but he was alone in the front and couldn't support himself. 272 also performed quite poorly in this game. He doesn't like confrontation at all now, and facing Burnley's dense defense, he relied on passing and dribbling skills, but he couldn't perform them well. It stands to reason that we should play against such a team with a very dense lineup. Technical players like 272 are quite popular after all. If you want to achieve exquisite coordination in a small space, you must have the ability to do the dojo in a screw shell. It is also out of this consideration that Wenger will let 272 start. Feng, who has a relatively rough playing style, serves as the substitute unexpectedly. There were no points in the first half. Although there were 9 shots, most of them were anti-aircraft guns, or they were kicked on the defensive players. There was no threat. Burnley's goalkeeper was only just made 3 saves after being unable to start. Wenger first replaced Walcott with Sanchez for this game. Walcott's speed is of little use. Sanchez still needs to use his piano playing skills to do some fine work in football. After the start of the second half, domestic fans were disappointed to find that Feng still did not play. What kind of tricks are you doing? In the first half, he played like shit with 272, and Wenger didn't replace him. In the last round of the Premier League, Feng, but the hat-trick was sitting on the bench. What is this? Operation, staying up late watching the Premier League, but Feng didn't play. The night was wasted. The commentator in the studio also expressed his opinion on this. Hey, it's actually easy to understand. Let's go to Iwobi first, and players like Walcott will try their best to rush on the court. Later, let's look at the Burnley players. Wait until 70 minutes before playing Feng. That's it. All the results were achieved in one battle. Director Zhang's explanation is very reasonable. Burnley's formation coupled with the narrow terrain of the home court is indeed not conducive to Arsenal's offense. And Feng has just arrived this season. Although his personal ability is also relatively good, but his coordination is still not as good as those players who have played in Arsenal for several seasons before. After the start of the second half, although Wenger took the lead in making substitution adjustments, but changing the soup without changing the medicine, every time Arsenal's attack failed, the director would appropriately switch the camera to the bench and the one he was aiming at was Feng. The camera language was used very skillfully, as if he was saying that since he couldn't score the goal, why not replace Feng? At this time, Feng was so exhausted that he almost dozed off. Arsenal couldn't score. Although they passed a lot of passes, their effective offense was almost the same. Sometimes the shots were barely made. The game was dull and Feng was drowsy. Watching when Wenger asked Feng to warm up, he found that Feng had already fallen asleep. It was Ramsey beside him who pushed Feng awake. Look at Feng yawning and going to the sideline to warm up. The fans immediately became energetic. Feng is here? That's outrageous. He has been unhappy since he was changed from a starter to a substitute. Feng is still in the mood to sleep. He is so heartbroken. However, while Feng was warming up on the sidelines, the same thing happened on the court. The situation changes suddenly. Arsenal were unable to attack for a long time and were a little impatient. Seized the opportunity to counter-attack against Burnley. Number 23 Ward made a pass from the wing, and number 9 Woke scored with a header. This time there were more than 20 minutes left before the end of the game, but Arsenal was already 0-1 behind. Read more novels by visiting our website Night Novels. Although Arsenal's statistics at this time are much better than Burnley's, the ball possession rate is 66-34. Shot 19-2. In terms of the number of passes, Arsenal made 523, far ahead of Burnley's 126. However, these are of no use. Football is all about scoring goals. If you can't score goals, no matter how beautiful your other statistics are, they will be zero. Take advantage of Burnley's goal celebration. Wenger's assistant coach also quickly submitted a substitution request to the fourth official. Here we come. Isn't it too late to play Feng at this time? When I saw Feng getting ready to play, I stopped dozing off immediately. I wasn't dozing off at first, but I just saw Feng yawning there. Even though I drank a cup of coffee, I was still infected by him. After waiting all night, Brother Feng finally came out. It seems like something strange was mixed in. 272, who was replaced, ignored Feng. There was nothing like when other players come off, they high-five their replacements of course. Feng ignored 272 and didn't even raise his hand. The two passed by each other as if they were players on different teams, but Feng's words almost made 272 go berserk. I gave you a chance, but you didn't use it. Arsenal needed to score at this time. Wenger replaced Feng, which also shows that Feng has a heavy responsibility at this time. Would it be a bit counterproductive to replace Feng at this time? In any case, Feng is just a teenage player who is replaced when he falls behind. The player's mentality must be particularly strong, I heard. Director Zhang didn't take it seriously at all when Zonjun said this. Don't tell me, Feng is just a young veteran player. I have been paying attention to him for a long time. His psychological quality is absolutely strong. That's true, Zonjun said in agreement. Feng has been in the industry since his debut. It was full of controversy from the beginning. Without excellent psychological quality, he would not be where he is now. Following the words of the two commentators, Feng was slowly walking into the stadium. Seeing Feng's pace, the fans also didn't know what to say. Although this is Feng's personal style, after the team fell behind, he still walked so slowly on the field. He looked a little anxious to me. He looked like he was walking on the field. You don't understand this. That's what's so great about Feng. It's called having a tiger in his heart and sniffing the roses. On the surface, he looks harmless to humans and animals. But once he has the opportunity, he will not hesitate to create murderous intent. This is how the sentence is used. Is it? Besides, there should be no defensive players in the Premier League team who will let Feng go. You see, before Feng reaches his position, Burnley players are already targeting him. After Feng came on the court, Arsenal the formation also changed accordingly. There is no three-forward lineup like before now. Wenger also wants to understand that since Burnley's home court cannot be widened, he might as well abandon the three-forward formation. Play a two-striker formation. Feng was a little behind Giroud, and the two played as a double forward. However, after Feng came up, the scene didn't seem to have changed much. After the goal, the Burnley team shrank even more seriously, and even their number 9 player Wokes had returned to the top of the arc to defend. Chapter 227. Lifting weight with ease. Getting 3 points from Arsenal was an unexpected surprise. Maybe relying on these 3 points, we can successfully avoid relegation this season. 1-0 is enough to win this game. The Burnley team does not want to continue attacking at all, and now it is time to fully defend. After watching it for a few minutes, the fans couldn't help but complain, although I also know that Feng has this style. I can't change it, but when I saw the team lagging behind, he was still walking there. It still felt a bit weird. Only after Feng came on the field did he know that Burnley was under the leadership of coach Earthworm. Under the leadership of Key, how strong the defense is. Their players have all been trained in the British Championship, and each of them is impeccable in terms of confrontation ability. If you want to say that the players in the English Championship are not as skilled as the players in the Premier League, that is for sure, but in terms of confrontation ability, there are many players in the English Championship who are stronger than the players in the Premier League. Cracking dense defenses is a worldwide problem, whether it is Ferguson or a coach like Guardiola. They have no particularly good way to face the iron barrel formation in dense defense. In summary, there are only 3 ways this is used all over the world. Whether it can be used depends on whether there are suitable players. One is to have players with height advantage and excellent header ability, so that they can use crosses or set pieces to attack in the air. One is to have a player with excellent dribbling ability who can dribble into the penalty area, disrupt the opponent's defense, and take advantage of the chaos to win. First, players with excellent long-range shooting ability can perform miracles with great force and create worldwide waves to seal the victory. One of the most reliable methods is to use set kicks. This is currently the most suitable tactic for breaking through dense defenses. The technical ability of Arsenal's entire team is top-notch, but they lack that kind of strong players, and Burnley also seems to pay great attention to the defense of set pieces. The entire game lasted 70 minutes and basically gave Arsenal no chance. Giroud didn't hide a single ball in front of him. According to statistics, there were only 0 successes in 4 aerial duels. There was no way Giroud had to face double teaming by 2 defensive players before. It's really difficult to win the ball when someone is hanging on him when he takes off. But now that Su Feng has come up, the situation is not much better. Su Feng's walking style of kicking does not take the initiative to fight. Time passed by, and several minutes had passed since Su Feng came on the field, but until now, Su Feng had not gotten a ball. It's not like there were no Arsenal players passing the ball to Su Feng, but it was intercepted by Burnley players during the conflict. The more he looked, the more anxious he became. Su Feng at least took a few steps back to catch the ball, just standing in the penalty area. It seems difficult to get the ball at the moment. He can't even get the ball. How can he equalize the score? Burnley's 451 lineup. It has now become 460. It's really difficult to penetrate, especially at this point in the game. Burnley's penalty area is full of people and there are legs everywhere. There really isn't much room for Arsenal to make a fuss. Read more novels by visiting our website Night Novels. After Su Feng came up, although his behavior was a bit lazy, after all, he still had to gain some cool value when he came on the bench. His mind was spinning very fast, and he was also thinking about how to break the situation. There were so many Burnley players in the penalty area. Even if Su Feng used Van Persie's volley skills, there would be no good results. It is impossible for a volley to penetrate the human body. It's even more impossible to have players dribbling the ball into the net together. It's not shale in soccer. At this moment, Cazorla suddenly dribbled the ball through the middle, hoping that this sudden change of rhythm would disrupt Burnley's deployment, but Burnley's players were very focused. Their midfielder number 8 Malney directly passed a ball to his body first. After Cazorla's balance was destroyed, he then stepped out to destroy Cazorla's balance and stabbed the ball away from Cazorla's feet. Come out number 16 Defoe didn't hesitate at all. When he saw the ball coming towards him, he swung it and kicked it. Boney follows this strategy. After taking control of the football, he will not organize an attack, but will directly destroy it with his big foot. Kick the ball as far as possible. In particular, the ball boys at Burnley Stadium seem to have been trained by their head coach. Whenever it was a throw-in for Arsenal, the ball boy always took his time throwing the ball over, thus wasting some time. If the Burnley team has an offensive opportunity, their little ball boy will be very quick and hand the football to the Burnley players. However, Defoe did not kick the ball. His powerful kick went towards the sideline, but he didn't expect that on the trajectory of the ball, someone stretched out his kick and stopped the ball firmly at his feet. When everyone took a look, it was not Su Feng or who it was, Wu Xiao. Su Feng, the ball stops beautifully. It can stop and stick to your feet. Are there magnets on your feet? Look at it, look at it. This is called professional. So it turns out that there are magnets on your feet. I thought our national team stopped the ball 3 meters away because the force of the pass was too great. We can't blame the player who stopped the ball. Only after seeing Su Feng's operation today did I understand. That was just an excuse, this wrecking ball. The power of the ball is much greater than passing the ball, and Su Feng can stop the ball at his feet without moving. The Burnley players originally thought that the ball would be destroyed and went out of the sideline, but they did not expect that Su Feng would reach out and kick the ball. The ball stopped. It turned out that in the imagination of the Burnley players, even if Su Feng blocked it, it would not be possible to stop the ball. They would just change the direction and go out to the sideline. I was stunned for a moment. Su Feng dribbled the ball into the penalty area. However, after Su Feng entered the penalty area, he faced an interception in front and a pursuer behind him. There was no chance for Su Feng to continue to break through. The only direction to continue is the bottom line. But once there, the best thing is just to pass the ball hard. Just a corner kick. However, Su Feng's operation exceeded everyone's expectations. Facing the defensive player who was about to pounce, he directly picked up the ball on the spot. Squirt. Everyone was shocked. This angle was already very small. Only about 30 degrees. There are also Burnley players in front of the goal. It is very difficult to avoid the defensive players and score the goal. However, everyone watched as the football drew a very graceful arc in the air at a very slow speed, passing over the goalkeeper, then grazing the crossbar of the goal, hitting the inside of the goal post and hitting the goal. Su Feng stopped the ball, took a step forward, and then shot. The whole movement is like flowing clouds and flowing water, completed in one go. He looked very relaxed, and looked completely out of place with the other players on the court who were already fighting with their bayonets. Red highlight one word, elegant and chic. After the goal was scored, the fans at Burnley's home team did not react immediately. Even the players on the field couldn't believe their eyes. It can be said that the angle from which Su Feng hit the ball was the only angle from his position. Chapter 228. The skill shocked everyone. Go in. Listen to the thunder in the silence. This goal is really wonderful. This is not a pass, Su Feng is obviously running to lob it. This footwork is amazing. We can see that after Su Feng shot this corner kick, he has raised his right hand and is already celebrating his goal. It fully demonstrates Su Feng's confidence. Zhan Jun was full of passion in the studio and did not hesitate to express any praise for Su Feng's goal award, and it was very clear that Su Feng was rushing to shoot, not just passing and shooting as some people suspected. Su Feng fooled all the Burnley players. They really didn't expect that Su Feng would shoot in this way from that angle. This is very difficult. Not only does your footwork need to be excellent, but you also need to be strong. The psychological quality. Only then can I choose to shoot in this way at that position. Arsenal fans were naturally very dissatisfied when they saw that their team was still lagging behind Burnley at the last moment. However, after seeing Su Feng score a goal in this way, they instantly put their dissatisfaction behind and immediately celebrated their team's goal happily. Even on the road, we couldn't score 3 points. This wonderful goal can also provide some comfort to Arsenal supporters. At least paying to watch the game and being able to witness such a wonderful goal live is worth the price of admission. The netizens were even more happy. Before Su Feng came on the court, Arsenal could not convert the advantage on the field into a score advantage. Now Su Feng opened up his scoring account for the team not long after he came on the field. Some people who just got off the field were naturally very embarrassed, and Su Feng's importance to the current Arsenal was clearly highlighted. Amazing. This goal is so beautiful. Now, what a stroke of genius. I thought it was gone again. The fans also talked about Su Feng's goal and expressed their admiration. In an instant, the screen views were so high. This goal is still not the end, and after scoring a goal, Arsenal also had to look back and continue to put more pressure on Burnley, actively press, strive to gain control of the football, and launch another attack. The players on the field had tried various methods before, but could not score. Now Su Feng broke the deadlock as soon as he came on the field. This also made the players on the court feel that they had found their backbone instantly. Faced with this situation, Burnley's players also seemed a little less confident and were afraid of being scored by Arsenal again. On the court, he also worries about gains and losses. For example, the psychology of football players is also very important. Although Su Feng only scored an equalizing goal at this time, the players on both sides have undergone very subtle changes in their psychology. Although Arsenal pressed hard against Burnley at this time, they still had the opportunity to counterattack and exceed the score again. However, Su Feng kept asking for the ball when attacking. Once an Arsenal player passed a ball to Su Feng, he could always be well controlled by Su Feng. Wu Kao, Su Feng, this ball was stopped too accurately. He directly stopped the long ball at his feet. Besides Su Feng, is there anyone else in the national football team who can stop like this? In absolute, read more novels by visiting our website Night Novels. Ball under the influence of his senses. Su Feng's judgment of the path of the incoming ball and his ability to stop the ball have reached their peak, and the connecting action after stopping the ball can also be said to be done in one go. He cleverly stops the ball at his feet, and when faced with the pressing pressure of the defensive players, he very casually uses the rainbow to pass by, leaving the opponent confused. The movements are light and easy, and seem to take no effort at all. It's like a doctoral student playing with a kindergarten kid. Even though the Burnley players were a little angry at Su Feng's back and forth humiliation and wanted to shovel Su Feng from behind, Su Feng seemed to have eyes on the back of his head and picked up the ball with ease. If Su Feng's playing style was cool and unrestrained in the past, there was a very deliberate touch to it, but now it is completely natural after receiving the ball. His movements are extremely chic and elegant, as if he is a graceful nobleman dancing gracefully on the court. Burnley's defensive players' brutal fouling and pressing using their strong bodies made Su Feng's clever technical moves look even more stupid. I feel it. Su Feng's extraordinary moves made me wet. Football is a passionate sport that can even be called an aesthetic of violence, an organic combination of speed and power. However, Su Feng used very clever and elegant movements to give this sport another layer of meaning. Su Feng took the ball several times in a row and passed the ball. Not only did his actions look pleasing to the eye, but his choices were also very reasonable, creating continuous dangers for Burnley's goal. Suddenly, Burnley's penalty area was in constant danger. Wenger was very surprised after seeing this. He didn't expect that after Su Feng came on the court, his style would actually change a bit compared to before. Although it used to be a relatively lazy style, today it is more ornamental. In terms of detail processing, Su Feng can be said to have gone to a higher level. These are obviously effects that can only be achieved after significant improvements in technology. As a coach who trains with the players every day, Wenger can't figure out how Su Feng suddenly improved so much. This is typically a surprise. He was very melancholy. He originally thought his team could win a victory, but he didn't expect that the Asian boy Su Feng from the opposite side would bring so much trouble to the team. After he came up every time Arsenal attacks, he will be very nervous. He also knows about Su Feng's technical characteristics. Before the game, he deliberately got to know this Asian player who has become famous in recent times, but he did not expect that the real person will play. The kick after that was much more powerful than what I saw in the video. Is it because our team is too weak that we can let the opponent achieve such an effect? It's not very long before the end of the game, so Burnley should be able to maintain a draw if they persist. For this reason, the Burnley goalkeeper also received a yellow card for deliberately delaying the goal kick. However, if you can get a point in the end, this yellow card will not be wronged, and the price-performance ratio is quite high. After all, the Premier League requires 5 yellow cards to be suspended, and a goalkeeper cannot receive 5 yellow cards in a season. Seeing that the time was about to reach injury time, Su Feng took the ball and made a breakthrough in the middle. Chapter 229. Grows too fast. Su Feng's breakthrough is not compatible with speed and power like many players, but is full of skill. Burnley's number 8 player blocks Su Feng's path. He followed Su Feng sideways. No matter which side Su Feng broke through, he could quickly increase his speed to keep up. However, Su Feng dunked the ball into the blind spot of his field of vision. The defensive player quickly turned around. At this time, Su Feng dunked the ball again and pushed the ball to the other side again, forcing the defensive player to turn around again. At this time, the two people were very close, and Su Feng suddenly rounded his thighs. He made a move to take a long shot, causing the defensive player to stretch his legs to block it. At this time, Su Feng lifted the ball high and put it lightly, and made another smash, passing the ball between the defensive player's legs. Crotch wearing is awesome. Su Feng was able to control the football perfectly every time he touched the ball at high speed, so that the football would never leave the control of his feet. When the opponent's players stretched out their feet to destroy the football, he could always take the lead and adjust the ball's movement direction, letting the opponent miss in the middle. Su Feng immediately attracted the attention of several Burnley defensive players. There is no way one person can stop Su Feng at this moment. Su Feng suddenly raised his left foot and made a very high arc pass. After Burnley's goalkeeper saw the ball coming, he immediately ran 2 steps outward, intending to jump up and get the ball. However, after the football entered the penalty area, it made an outward rotation arc. This is completely inconsistent with the judgment of Burnley's goalkeeper. Seeing this scene, Burnley's goalkeeper had to shrink back again, giving the right to fight for control of the football back to his defenders in the penalty area. 2 Burnley defenders took off one after another. However, everything is just a tiny bit different. They thought they could hit the football, but instead it slipped past their scalps. Giroud, who came in from behind, waited and shot from the arch of his right foot into the near corner. 2-1, Arsenal overtook the score. Beautiful pass. Comfortable shot. The commentator's cheerful voice was beyond words. Su Feng actually passed such a wonderful pass with his left foot. This arc also made Burnley's goalkeeper make some mistakes in judgment, and also bypassed several defensive players. You must know that Su Feng is a right-footed player. At this time, because Su Feng has an absolute sense of the ball, there is actually no problem and no error in handling the ball with all parts of his body. They are all the same. Originally, Su Feng's left foot was naturally a bit worse than his right foot, but under the influence of the Absolute Club, there was no difference at all between the left foot and the right foot. For this alone, this skill is extremely cost-effective. Read more novels by visiting our website Night Novels, not to mention the commentators and fans. Even Su Feng himself felt a little surprised. Of course, Su Feng's surprise came more from the fact that he did not believe that he could pass such a wonderful ball. If a player can pass such a ball once in his life, it is enough to talk about it. In fact, Su Feng just wanted to pass the ball in front of the goal and create chaos, but he did not expect that this pass was really like installing satellite positioning. It was exactly the same as his idea. This also made the back row inserting a shot that Giroud can take with ease. Of course, the most surprising thing about Su Feng is that this skill is relatively more suitable for the way he wants to get more cool points. The value of skills that are very compatible with your own playing style is immeasurable at this time. It was not long before the end of the game, and there was not much time left for Burnley. In fact, after being overtaken by Arsenal, Burnley was already stunned. Even if they wanted to counterattack, they basically couldn't. Too likely the happiest ones are naturally the domestic fans who firmly support Su Feng. Su Feng is said to be a flash in the pan. If it doesn't work anymore, come out and take a few steps. I just want to ask, how long is this flash in the pan? Feng, you are awesome. He helped Arsenal score 2 goals in just a short time. Go ahead. On the other hand, some people played on the court for 60 minutes and did nothing. Wenger should know who to start in the next game. After the go-ahead, Arsenal players played even more on the court. It's so easy. They are a team with very good cooperation, and their personal abilities far exceed those of Burnley's players. At this time, their control ability on the court is even more important. It is difficult for unfavorable players to overtake. After all, they couldn't even get the ball at this time. Feng was playing more relaxed on the court, and he basically stopped running after getting the ball. He plays with it for a while and then distributes it to his teammates. It is equivalent to walking the dog in the midfield. Toying with Burnley's players consumed the rest of the time. Facing the pressure of many Burnley players, Feng made a groove turn and then quickly passed the ball with the rainbow. The defensive player, who had no choice but to get angry, became angry and Feng passed the ball out again. I have to say that Feng controlled the scale very well. Burnley's players were not given a chance to retaliate for the foul. Groof's turn is a very common technical action. It is not difficult and can be done by any fool. However, under Feng's use, it is so pleasing to the eye, and combined with the extremely exquisite rainbow pass, which gave the fans present a visual enjoyment. Finally, Burnley's players couldn't help it. Even though Feng passed the ball, their defensive player still pushed Feng down with both hands. However, the Arsenal players rushed over to stand up for Feng at the first opportunity. Seeing that a conflict was about to break out between the two sides, the referee came over and quickly dealt the cards and stopped the conflict. At this time, Feng was still lying on the ground. It was only when he saw Wenger nervously asking if he wanted the doctor and the party to come on the sidelines that Feng got up and said no. This scene also amused the fans. Feng just lay down wherever he fell. Look at the replay. When Giroud and the others were standing up for Feng actually crossed his legs and lay on the ground to eat. Feng is really very relaxed when he plays football. But he feels that he deserves a beating. If I were a Burnley player, I would definitely not be able to help but beat him. No way. This is Feng's style. I feel that Feng deserves a beating. Feng's football is becoming more and more spiritual now. Look at his rainbow dribble. You can say that no one in the world can do it more elegantly than him. Neymar also likes rainbow dribble, but it feels stiff. It feels deliberate, but Feng does it more naturally. It makes people feel that in that situation, rainbow is the best choice for Feng. Unlike Neymar, he can obviously choose other way, but he insists on using the rainbow to surpass others. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 230. International Match Day. When you said this, I also felt that Feng was completely natural when doing this action. There was a little bit of a stiff feeling in the previous games, but today it really feels like this action was tailor-made for him. The fans are talking a lot online. Even after the game is over, it is already late at night in China and everyone has to go to work the next day. They are still enjoying it and flooding the comment area. Feng's wonderful performance was like a cup of fragrant coffee, making netizens very refreshing. After Feng went to the away fan zone with his teammates and thanked the fans who came from afar to support the team, he was stopped by the media again during the mixed interview. After scoring a very exciting goal today, why do you still not look very excited and celebrate wildly? Is it because it was still a draw? Actually, I feel like I have answered this question before. As a player, scoring goals is my job. Just like you are completing your job by interviewing me, will you celebrate grandly after interviewing me? I felt that the goal was very ordinary. I think I should be able to score a lot of goals like this in the future. The reporters all rolled their eyes wildly. When it comes to showing off, it's you, but I have to say that reporters like Feng to say this. If he doesn't say this, where will the traffic come from? Where will the newspaper sales come from tomorrow? Where does the media attention come from? It's no wonder that Feng, an Asian player, quickly gained favor from the European media. His mouth is as powerful as his skills on the court. I feel that you played very easily and freely on the court today. Is it because the Burnley team opposite is very strong that you can play with such ease? Feng heard that this reporter was very bad. You say this on purpose. It's easy to offend someone if you're not careful. Even though you won the game, you can't say your opponent is too good, right? Although that's true, but the reality is that even if it's the truth, you can't just tell it everywhere. Burnley is not a weak team. There is no weak team that can play in the Premier League. In fact, before I came to the Premier League, I heard a saying that there is no weak team in the Premier League, even if it is ranked very high. Even the rich and powerful teams will be overthrown by the teams at the bottom. I personally respect Burnley and Burnley's coach very much. The players are just me coming on as a substitute, so my physical fitness is very sufficient, and after playing a whole game with the previous players, their physical fitness has naturally declined, so it seems that I can play more relaxedly. There is nothing wrong with Su Feng's words. There are almost no loopholes for reporters to make a fuss about, but this can only fool people who have not watched the game. Su Feng's way of playing football in the game and his physical strength are completely inconsistent. On the contrary, Su Feng was the one with insufficient physical fitness. He relies solely on his outstanding personal skills to tease his opponents, rather than using his abundant physical energy to overwhelm his opponents. I have to say that this young Asian man is really very oily and old. But he is not yet 20 years old, but his answers to reporters' questions are already full of the smell of old fritters. I don't know if it was trained by Raiola. After defeating Burnley, Arsenal has been making great progress. And its basic guarantee in the Premier League is also among the best, but this is also the basic operation of Arsenal. They made great progress before the season, but faltered after the season. After all, Arsenal has always been like this over the years. Fans are also crazy about the issue of losing the chain, and Arsenal never lose the chain, of course. The core problem is that Arsenal's bench is not deep enough. Read more novels by visiting our website Night Novels. During and after the season, once injuries occur, the team's strength will naturally be greatly reduced, and it will be impossible to maintain the chain by then. Getting sick is difficult to avoid and is related to many accidental factors. However, many media are predicting that Arsenal will be injured this season. Even if other players will be injured, Su Feng should not be injured, right? According to research conducted by the German sports authoritative media, basically the first team of a team will suffer about 50 lives per year, which means that on average, each person will have about 2 injuries in a season. After all, a team plays 40 to 50 games a year, and Premier League teams even have to play a few more games than teams from other countries due to the existence of the League Cup. This also increases the possibility of illness. After all, many muscle injuries are caused by fatigue. It is difficult for professional players to avoid injuries caused by muscle fatigue, but Su Feng's style of play is quite healthy, and he is always walking on the court. Therefore, the possibility of Su Feng suffering from muscle injuries due to fatigue is very low. Moreover, Su Feng does not have to participate in the national team. After playing at Burnley, it is the international match day. Many first-team players in the Arsenal team are international players of their respective countries, and they have to return home to participate in 2 international matches. Su Feng was able to take advantage of this time to rest. It is also very easy to get injured when playing for the national team. There is a special term for this called FIFA virus. Countless players have been injured after returning from the national team, or even injured directly while in the national team. Many clubs feel a deep headache for this. The next round of the Premier League is not until October 15th. Arsenal will face Swansea at home. There are almost 2 weeks of international breaks before that. Originally, according to the plan, Raiola was going to let Su Feng shoot a set of commercials for Richard Mille, the watch brand Su Feng endorses, during this period. But during this time, La Fanti also discovered that Su Feng, a young player, was different from others. Although it is normal for young players with potential to grow up quickly, it is rare to see them grow up as fast as Su Feng. Originally, he did not agree with Su Feng's rejection of Richard Mille's annual endorsement contract of €500,000. La Fanti feels that €500,000 per year is not bad for a young player. What's more, it's just a regional agent, not a global spokesperson, just the Asian region. Young people should not aim too high and dream of becoming fat in one bite. La Fanti himself is a fat person, and he knows that fat people cannot gain weight in one day. But after watching Su Feng's recent games, Raiola also quickly changed his mind. I feel that at this rate of growth, Su Feng will definitely have more than a mere €500,000 to spend next year. So I obeyed Su Feng's wishes and rejected this very shabby contract from Richard Mille. Chapter 231. National team. At the same time, due to the sudden rise of Su Feng, old German companies and Adidas have set their sights on Su Feng. In fact, Adidas had noticed Su Feng before when Su Feng was in Germany and the league. However, The Germans have always been arrogant and do not particularly value Asian players like Feng. Especially when they had other better options at the time. The Chinese team are more optimistic about Zhang Zai's at Wolfsburg. After all, he is the national player of the Chinese team, but only a year later, Adidas discovered that they were completely wrong. When they sent someone to contact Feng's agent had been replaced by Raiola, who was not a mere millionaire at all. Euros will suffice for 1 year. In comparison, Adidas gave Feng an annual endorsement contract of 2 million yuan. Nike seems to be more sincere, however. No matter how busy Lafayette was outside, Feng didn't care about these things at all. This also makes it feel strange to pull a fat guy. Other players are quite concerned about making money. Why does Feng seem so insensitive to money matters? In this regard, Feng said on the phone, "I am just a young player now. The most important thing is to focus on developing my own career. In the future, I will become a Ballon d'Or winner. I will win the Champions League championship. When I feel weak, these endorsement contracts will naturally come after me. Sponsors can be chosen at will without my having to worry about it. I also advise you not to run around for me with such commercial contracts, because in a few years you won't be able to do it while sitting at home. Finished. Be my agent and you can have fun." Raiola was almost angry. What a tone of voice. Even his most famous player Ibrahimovic didn't dare to brag like this. Awesome. Arsenal has just been promoted to the main force and has already begun to dream about the Champions League winner and the Ballon d'Or winner. It's true that mentally retarded children have a lot of fun, and mentally ill patients have broad ideas, but having confidence is also a very good thing. If a player has skills but no confidence, he will definitely not be able to play well. Feng's technical talent is visible to the naked eye. Coupled with this incredible self-confidence, it is conceivable that Feng's future achievements will definitely not be small at the very least. If you think about it on the bright side, Feng is not the kind of player who just sits back and enjoys his money and squanders his talent. At least Feng still has the Ballon d'Or and the Champions League in his eyes. Thinking of this, Raiola also felt that his efforts in running these endorsement contracts for Feng were not in vain. This is a young player with potential who is worthy of his own efforts during this rare long vacation. China's national team also has important tasks. At this time, the top 12 Asian qualifying rounds for the 2018 World Cup are also in full swing. When the national team recruited players this time, a reporter did ask the leaders of the Football Association and the head coach of the national team, Guy Dingao, whether the national team would take Feng under his wing as a young player who has already made a name for himself at Arsenal. The idea is that if Feng joins, I believe that it will stand out from the top 12 and have greater confidence in entering the World Cup. The leaders of the Football Association said that the selection of the national team belongs entirely to the head coach. The head coach said that basically all the players in the national football team currently play in the Chinese Super League. We are very familiar with each other and have played many games in the national team. We also cooperate with each other very well. Suddenly recruiting Feng into the national team may have a counterproductive effect. Read more novels by visiting our website Night Novels. The most important thing is that director Gao said that he heard that Feng likes to smoke and drink, but the Football Association has issued a ban. Players who enter the national team are not allowed to smoke, drink, or have tattoos. Now players who enter the national team, those who have tattoos, they all use tape to tape themselves up like a mummy. Although Feng does not have any tattoos, it is well known to everyone that Feng likes to smoke and drink. Director Gao said that if Feng had not quit smoking and drinking, recruiting him into the national team might have a negative impact on young people. The previous explanation barely makes sense. The fans also expressed their understanding, and some fans also felt that Feng was at Arsenal just now. The main players hastily entering the national team, which is not conducive to Feng's future in the club, just like the previous abandonment of Guoan Yangcheng, who had no choice but to leave for the German Bundesliga. He actually couldn't play in the Guoan team and was not even a stable substitute. As a result, he played very well in the German Bundesliga team Eintracht Frankfurt. He scored 8 goals in one season and was awarded the team's top scorer. He also took the lead in scoring a very difficult goal from a small angle in the final round of crucial games, helping Frankfurt successfully avoid relegation that season. He was already able to play the main role stably in Frankfurt. However, after the success of the German Bundesliga, the national football team called Yang Cheng into the national team and traveled back and forth. This also caused his state to decline seriously and he lost his main position in Frankfurt. Therefore, many Feng fans also feel that it is okay for Feng not to join the national team at this time. After all, Su Feng is still on the rise. If it affects Su Feng's goal increase, it will actually backfire on the situation. But what was said later about smoking, drinking, etc., left the fans speechless. How many national football players don't smoke or drink? As the saying goes, a big old chain and a small barbecue should be eaten 3 times a day. It feels a bit nitpicky to talk about this kind of thing in this regard. Some media squatted outside Su Feng's apartment and interviewed Su Feng when he came out, asking him if he would like to join the national team. As someone who has been there, Su Feng naturally knows what the national team was like during this period. Especially for this national team, Su Feng knew it very well. When you join the national team, it's not about your ability, it's about your connections. How could someone like Su Feng, who had no connections at all, be able to join the national team? Those positions must be reserved for those who are gold-plated and have connections with a head coach and the main line leaders. Of course, we still have to talk about the scene. Being in the national team is the ultimate dream of every player. It is an honor to play for the country. As long as the country calls me up, I will immediately put down everything I am doing without hesitation, go to the national team and play for the country. I am willing to serve the country. The national team dedicated themselves to death. The reporters were also speechless. This Su Feng was really like an old man, and his speech was really impeccable. But was this a bit too much? After working hard and dying, he came out. During this period, Su Feng was living in seclusion, seizing the time to smoke, drink, and go out in bars, preparing to improve his attributes as much as possible during the international competition days. He was very busy. Wouldn't joining the national team affect his improvement? Chapter 232. A boring game. Su Feng also watched an international competition at home. The Asian World Cup qualifying match is the match between the national football team and the country. Su Feng was lying on the sofa smoking a cigarette and drinking wine. While trying to improve his attributes, he was enjoying the national football matches. The national football team put up a 541 beaten lineup at the beginning of this game. Let Bang Zigao beat him randomly, and he got 3 goals without any effort. Sun Xingmin, who boasts great reputations, also performed mediocrely in this game. The king of Bangzi Kingdom is always compared with Su Feng recently. Of course, the fans of Bangzi Kingdom feel that Su Feng is not qualified to be compared with their Appa. However, it definitely makes sense to compare Sun Xingmin and Su Feng. First of all, both of them played for German football clubs before, but Su Feng played for a Bundesliga second club, while Sun Xingmin played for 2 Bundesliga clubs. Sun Heung-min first played for Hamburg and then for Bayer Leverkusen. Then he was transferred to Tottenham Hotspur for €30 million, which broke the Asian player transfer record when Hidetoshi Nakata joined Parma. Now the two are in London, and among the 2 teams in North London, Arsenal and Tottenham Hotspur are still mortal enemies in the same city. It's hard not to compare. Of course, the fans of Bangzi country still have some advantages in their hearts, so Su Feng's transfer fee is higher than Sun Xingmin's. However, Su Feng came to the Premier League 1 year later than Sun Xingmin. According to Bangzi country fans, there was inflation. After a series of financial and currency exchange calculations that no one could understand, Bangzi country fans came to the conclusion that Su Feng's transfer fee was it's not as good as Sun Xingmin's. Anyone who has studied mathematics can't understand their logic anyway. In addition, Sun Heung-min played in the German Bundesliga, first for Hamburg club and then for Bayer Leverkusen. It is certainly not comparable to the several German second division clubs that Su Feng plays for. This is also the biggest psychological advantage of Bangzi fans. Then it was the international match day this time. Sun Xingmin returned to China to participate in the World Cup Asian qualifiers and faced the national football team at home. Although his performance was mediocre, Su Feng couldn't even make it to the national team. This naturally made Korean fans talk nonsense on the internet, thinking that Su Feng was not worthy of being compared with Sun Xingmin. After all, Su Feng couldn't even make it to the national football team. Being kicked in the stick country made me pee. With more than 20 years of Korean phobia, this is the biggest support for fans of Bangzi country. But at the end of the game, the national football team lost the away game 2-3. After conceding 3 goals first, they then chased 2 more goals. From the score, it seemed that the gap was not very big. It falls into the category that is still acceptable, but anyone who has actually watched the game knows it. The real gap is huge. It can be seen from the formation of the head coach that he has no intention of winning in the away game and has put up a defensive lineup with 5 defenders. Read more novels by visiting our website Night Novels. Although the head coach's high red envelope and high guidance once defeated the South Korean team, and it was 3-0. Which sounds like an overwhelming victory, but it was the top 4 in East Asia. Bangzi country didn't even send its main force. In the eyes of some old fans, Coach Gao is the king of friendly matches. Sure enough, this kind of game was very optimistic by a group of fans led by Gao, and they lost the game as they wished. But people have something to say. The Korean team only lost 1 goal in an away game. That's fine. In fact, anyone who knows a little bit about penalty kicks knows that the formation is completely unreasonable, especially because it is based on idealism. Forget about the defender named Ren Xing, he's still pretty capable. What's going on with the goalkeeper? It doesn't matter if the goalkeeper who won the AFC Champions League twice with the Hengtae team cannot play. Yan Junlin of the Hegang team or Wang Xiaoli of the Luneng team, which one is not stronger than him? They said that director Gao paid the price for his nepotism. Besides, he usually did not play a 5-41 lineup, but he suddenly put up a lineup like this. He could not resist the pressure and recruited the older player Zhang Zhi into the lineup and asked him to play in a midfielder. Defender position. He simply can't play in this position. It is age. The combination of these factors is the key to the national football team losing this game. With the strength reduced, how big a gap can there be between Asian teams? At least at this time, Su Feng feels that the strength between the national football team and the Korean team is not so bad that they cannot win. I watched this game because the fans from Bangzi country were very noisy before the game and deliberately compared Sun Xingmin and Su Feng. In addition, after all, Su Feng is also a Chinese and has to take a look at the national team games. As the saying goes, love is deep and hate is deep. No matter how bad the national football team is, Su Feng still hopes that the national football team can enter the World Cup. The truth is that I was very disappointed after reading it after the game. The fans of Bangzi country were in an uproar immediately, taunting them in all kinds of ways. Even though Su Feng was not selected for the national football team and did not play in this game, he still could not escape being bombarded by Bangzi country's map plus Arsenal, where Su Feng plays, and Tottenham Hotspur, where Sun Xingmin plays. They are mortal enemies in the same city. It's not the kind of relationship that is just talk. Manchester United and Liverpool are said to be mortal enemies, but now there is no such smell of gunpowder. Manchester United and Nottingham Forest are also dead, but Nottingham Forest no longer knows when they were in the top league. The two teams have not met for many years. There is no discussion at all about whether he will die or not. Moreover, the tension between Premier League teams is getting weaker and weaker. Several tragedies that have occurred between fans have also prompted the English Football Association to take many preventive measures. Now most fans can watch football calmly without the heated atmosphere. There are very few people who would get into a fight if they disagreed. However, Arsenal and Tottenham Hotspur still have it. It can be said that Tottenham Hotspur are the kind of people who eat, sleep, and play Arsenal. Even if the entire season is mediocre, Tottenham fans will be satisfied as long as they can handle Arsenal. Of course, Arsenal's situation is a bit bigger than Tottenham Hotspur, but when they meet Tottenham Hotspur, fans also hope that Arsenal can defeat their opponent. In the past, it was no big deal. The strength gap between Tottenham Hotspur and Arsenal was still quite large, but things are different now, because Arsenal has been declining, and Tottenham Hotspur poached Pochettino from Southampton. The team's record improved. They now have a British star Harry Kane in their youth training. It is said that his potential is comparable to Alan Shearer. Last year, he also scored more than a dozen goals in the league and showed his prominence. Chapter 233. Hidden attributes. What made Tottenham Hotspur fans most excited was that Harry Kane went to Arsenal for a trial, but was rejected by Arsenal, and only then was he missed by Tottenham Hotspur. Now there is the Asian derby relationship between Su Feng and Sun Xingmin. Therefore, the game between Arsenal and Tottenham Hotspur has naturally attracted the attention between domestic fans and Korean fans. Korean fans naturally slandered and ridiculed Su Feng. This suddenly brought the intensity of the game between Arsenal and Tottenham Hotspur this season to another level. Su Feng didn't feel much about this. What kind of team is Tottenham Hotspur? It's really a bit of a loss compared to them in the past. Tottenham Hotspur's home stadium was called 3 Points Alley. Of course, this is what Manchester United means to the fans. That is, you can get 3 points directly if you go there. Although the strength has improved now, it is just that something happened. This is mainly because the owner of Tottenham Hotspur, Baldy Lang, is a person who is obsessed with money. He only cares about making money and does not pay attention to the cost of winning or not winning the championship. That is to say, they can occasionally win against Arsenal in the league. As for honor, Arsenal can easily crush Tottenham Hotspur even if they lie down. Sun Xingmin is a capable player. Joining such a team will naturally say goodbye to the collective honor. Su Feng had a system and actually had no worries about his personal strength. There is no way to defeat Sun Xingmin. It is just a matter of time, not to mention the team's honor. So Su Feng really has no feeling at all for the climax of the Bangzi country fans by taking almost 2 weeks off. Su Feng then looked at his overall attributes. Name Su Feng, age 18 years old, height 187 centimeters, shooting ability 83, long shot 81, volley 84, header 85, arc 82, penalty kick 89, technical ability 89, ball feel 100, dribbling 92, ball control 91, short pass 80, long pass 81. The above attributes are all affected by the absolute ball sense bonus of passive skills, physical ability 81, strength 80, speed 86, coordination 79, reaction 83, physical fitness 65, comprehensive evaluation 85, current coolness value 67. After reading these data, Su Feng expressed quite satisfaction the absolute ball sense that I have drawn. Although this skill is not a top black skill, it can instantly increase my ball sense to 100. This also saved me a lot of hard work. Of course, I still have a little regret. It would have been better if the ball feel was 0, so the improvement would be even greater, and the absolute ball feel also adds to various technical abilities. After pumping and drinking fiercely throughout the vacation, Su Feng's numerical values had indeed reached a level that he was very satisfied with. At this rate, Su Feng would be fully trained in 1 or 2 years. It won't be long before the coolness value reaches 67. It is estimated that when Arsenal reaches the knockout round of the Champions League, Su Feng will be able to draw 5 consecutive draws. By then, he will have at least 1 black skill and 4 with a common skill. I believe Su Feng's strength will make great progress. Watson Heung-min? Ask him to step aside. My goals are Ronaldo and Messi. Just when Su Feng was feeling proud, she suddenly heard the system prompt sound in her mind. The system has detected that the host's value has reached the minimum requirement, and the hidden value has been opened. Miss Grass? Is there still hiding? Su Feng himself muttered, always feeling that his attributes seemed to be lacking in something. Read more novels by visiting our website Night Novels. I never thought about it deeply, but now I see that the system is not that simple. After refreshing the system panel, there is a hidden mental attribute behind the technical and physical attributes. Aggression 5, dirtiness 3, prediction 76, vision 69, leadership 11, team 23, game input 12, positional sense 87, decision 97, running without the ball 13, non-dominant foot 42, stability 66, competition performance 96. After seeing his so-called hidden attributes, Su Feng couldn't help but fall into deep thought. At first he saw filth and aggression. Zing, Su Feng thought that his spiritual attributes were 10 points perfect. As a result, I saw that the score was still 100 points. Dirty is only 3, which also means that he is very civilized when playing football and can be said to be a gentleman on the court. However, Su Feng also agreed with this point. He was already very chic. How could he be so dirty? Those rather dirty methods never appeared in Su Feng's mind during the game. In fact, Su Feng felt that in this aspect, he should be 0. This was also the first time that Su Feng felt that one of his values should be reset to 0 to make it more consistent with his personality. Aggression. Well, Su Feng is indeed not the type of striker who stirs up trouble. He is an assassin. Come on suddenly. Rather than being a troublemaker like Diego Costa and Drogba who ravaged defenders to death, the investment in the game is naturally very consistent with his usual way of playing football. If he doesn't run, it must be that he is not invested in the game. His movement without the ball is also relatively low. Indeed, Su Feng usually stands there like a wooden stake. If he doesn't have a particularly good opportunity, he won't move. These values are relatively in line with Su Feng's actual situation. The only thing that makes Su Feng dissatisfied is his own stability and values for the non-dominant foot. Indeed, so far, Su Feng relies more on his right foot to score goals and rarely uses his left foot. Although various skills do not require you to use your dominant foot, it is still very awkward to actually use it. It's just that Yezin has been smoking, drinking, and playing billiards for so long, and he hasn't seen any of them that can improve his non-dominant foot. Do you need to go to the court to practice this by yourself? You must know that if a player, especially an offensive player, only has one foot to kick the ball, it will be really easy to defend. Su Feng wants to truly become a superstar. You must also use your left foot. Van Persie was once only a left-footed player, especially players who are born left-footed. It is many times more difficult for them to train their right foot than for right-footed players to train their left foot until Su Feng finds a shortcut. It seems he can only work hard on training his left foot on the training ground. To make yourself a star with no shortcomings during the international break, Arsenal also injured several players. 272, Ramsey and Giroud were all injured while playing for their national teams. Chapter 234. The first Asian derby. The former doesn't matter, since no one at Arsenal is paying attention to him anyway. The latter's injury to Ramsey still has an impact on the strength of Arsenal's midfield. As for Giroud, Su Feng can also replace him, so the problem is not big. Fortunately, after the international break, Arsenal's first opponent is the newly promoted Swansea. This team is not very strong either. In Su Feng's impression, it seems that they struggled in the Premier League for just 1 or 2 seasons before being relegated, so even if some key players are absent, Arsenal should not have any big problem winning this game at the season conference. Wenger led Su Feng to the stage. Su Feng obviously wants to play the main role. After all, other international players are a little tired after playing for their national teams, and Su Feng has rested for such a long time, which is the time to make full use of it while others are playing for the national team. Su Feng is recharging his energy. If we don't update at this time, when will we wait? When hearing Su Feng's question, someone actually asked Su Feng what he thought of the Chinese national team's 2 consecutive losses in the Asian qualifiers. Su Feng was also speechless. How could they lie on the sofa at home and watch it after losing to the South Korean team 2-3 in the away game? In the first game, China and the national football team faced the Iranian team at home and lost 0-1 to their opponents. Logically speaking, there are only a few games in the top 12, and they lost 2 games in a row at the beginning. The head coach must have been sprayed with blood, but there are still a bunch of fans in higher vocational schools. They emphasize that the away loss to the South Korean team was only 1 goal, which was still acceptable for the national football team, and the home loss to the Iranian team, the strongest team in Asia, was only 1 goal. Having said this, what can Su Feng say? This was not the time for Su Feng to brag, so Su Feng gave a very official answer. I watched both games at home, and I personally feel sorry for the result. It's just a pre-match press conference for the Premier League. I will only answer some questions about this game, and things that have nothing to do with this game. I won't answer, thank you. As a result, the media published a news article after returning home, saying that Su Feng had nothing to say after the national football team lost 2 games in a row. I have to say that when I am a reporter, I am really good at writing. No matter you say it or not, they all have something to say. Of course, Su Feng didn't care that the national football team was a big pit. He didn't think that at this time, after joining the national football team, he could lead the national football team to win the World Cup. Su Feng just had a system, not a nude photo of God. You can't do something so outrageous. After the Korean national team won the national football match, the fans in Bangsi country were very excited and kept exaggerating the North London derby between Tottenham Hotspur and Arsenal. And it is said that it is also mixed with Asian derby, but in fact, Swansea also has players from the country. Read more novels by visiting our website Night Novels. One named Ki Cheng-gyong was once a teammate with Zhang Zhi, the big brother of the national team. Since the two were in the same position, Ki Cheng-gyong pushed Zhang Zhi to the bench. In the end, he had no choice but to return to China and join Hangtae team. Don't tell me, although the fans of Bangsi country are quite arrogant and talk very irritatingly, they are also very insidious and bad. But he is not completely devoid of intelligence, because Swansea is a relegation team. Therefore, even if there is a good national player like Ji Sung-yuang, they do not exaggerate. What is the Asian derby between Arsenal and Swansea? Isn't this obvious? Arsenal must have beaten Swansea to the ground. The fans of the country will not humiliate themselves. At least Tottenham Hotspur is slightly worse than Arsenal. It may not be impossible to kill Arsenal. After all, Tottenham Hotspur can show its strength of 150 when playing against Arsenal. Every time we play against Arsenal, it's like playing in a Champions League final. Yori does not have such strength, nor does it have such sentiments, so of course the fans of Bangsi country pretend to be deaf and dumb, as if they don't see or know that their Bangsi country's international player is on the team. But the Chinese media knows it, and they also know that Swansea will definitely not be able to beat Arsenal, who can't do this kind of verbal skill. Therefore, the domestic media also exaggerated it before the game. In the Premier League's first Asian derby this season, Su Feng faced South Korea's Ki Sung-yuang. Will Su Feng lead Arsenal to defeat the opponent, or will Ki Sung-yuang lead Swansea to defeat Arsenal first? Due to the hype in the country, Fans from Bangzi country could only curse and quit the group chat, saying that the domestic media did not follow martial ethics, not to mention the gap between the two teams. Let's just say Arsenal is still playing at home. It would be even harder for Swansea to win this game, although there are many players in Swansea who do not need to play for the national team. They are more physically fit than Arsenal's players, but the gap in strength is an insurmountable gap. Of course, we must despise the enemy strategically, but we must still pay attention to the enemy tactically. Wenger still discharged most of the main players in the home game. Feng is still at the front, and behind him is number 19 Cazorla. Walcott and Sanchez are on the left and right sides in the midfield. Coquelin replaced Ramsey, and the other one was the Swiss star number 29. Xhaka still had the same 4 people in the defense. The goalkeeper is still veteran Sek 1. Looking at the Swansea team again, the stars are dim. The so-called Asian derby does not exist at all, because Ki Sung-yueng did not start the game and sat on the bench. Their main forward is Sigurdsson, who just transferred here this season and is nicknamed the Icelandic Sniper. His scoring ability is not very strong, but he is very good at shooting from set pieces and long-range shots. Swansea team has a 4,411 formation. Behind him was Leroy Fer, a Dutchman of average ability. The slightly more famous midfielder should be Jack Cork, who also came out of Southampton's youth training. Southampton's academy has produced a lot of people. Arsenal players such as Theo Walcott and Oxlade-Chamberlain are all from Southampton, including Luke Shaw of Manchester United, Lallana of Liverpool, etc. These people are all in the same group as Jack Cork. Of course, his strength is only average, otherwise he would not be in a civilian team like Swansea. Players like Luke Shaw, Eris Bale, Chamberlain, and Theo Walcott have long been poached to wealthy clubs. All in all, he is just not a great player. In the studio, when commentators Anjun read Swansea's lineup, he was scripted and showed little enthusiasm. They are all second-rate players, nothing worth paying attention to. Chapter 235. Loophole. It can be said that Arsenal can win Swansea without any pressure, even if they turn a blind eye and play while sleeping. But one thing to say, Swansea's jersey is still pretty good looking. Feng Yuanden stood at the midfield kickoff point in order to improve his attributes. He also races against every second. I still have a headache caused by a hangover, and I drank a little too much during the holiday. At present, he has not found a way to improve his non-dominant foot, which makes Feng look a little distracted while standing on the court in this game. Captain Koscielny chose to kick off first under the suspicion of the captain. With the referee's whistle, Feng gently pushed the ball to Walcott. Walcott passes the ball back. Feng stood at the kickoff point without moving. Anyway, he knew that the team always had to test a ball first, back and forth in the middle and upper position to find gaps. First observe the specific position of the Swansea team, so his current running position is also in vain. It's better to stand here and accumulate more cool points. Swansea's players also looked like they were living in hell, although now everyone has heard that Arsenal's forward, the Asian boy, has a unique playing style in the entire Premier League, and even in the entire international football world. People give him the nickname Lazy King. If the ball doesn't reach your feet, it won't move at all. Even if the ball is passed to Feng's feet, he may not move. But no one dared to look down upon Feng, because Feng was the kind of person who would do nothing but act randomly when he moved. This kind of kicking mode is like a sort of Darth Maul hanging over your head, and you don't know when it will be chopped off. Really annoying. Sure enough, the football passed through a series of transmissions in the Arsenal midfield, and someone passed a ball to Feng. This was a ball that was sent directly to Feng's feet. Jack took a step forward to guard Feng and prevent Feng from turning around. As a result, Feng kicked the ball and passed it back, and he did not move immediately, but still stood where he was. Jack Coker didn't know what to do next. Hearing is the same thing, but actually meeting him is like seeing him for a long time. Generally speaking, when players in the front court get this kind of ball, they either directly take the ball and turn around, or they turn around and run, cooperate with their teammates, pass the ball back and still stand still without moving. This is the first time Jack has seen it in his career. Who are these people? Are today's young people already so lazy? Feng was quite leisurely in the midfield, barely picking his nostrils with his fingers. But in fact, Feng's brain was also running rapidly. He was also observing the midfield operation of the Swansea team. Take a look. Are there any openings that he can take advantage of? Feng has an absolute sense of the ball, and his ability to control the ball and dribble is very strong now. That is to say, Feng's ability to predict is not enough now. Otherwise, Feng has the ability to directly dribble the ball from the center and penetrate the opponent. The ability to stay in the restricted area. Read more novels by visiting our website Night Novels. Contrary to what outsiders know, dribbling ability can only play its greatest role when combined with the body's balance, explosive power and prediction ability. Many players have unparalleled dribbling ability, but like Messi, he can pass several people a year. With so many people chasing and intercepting him, Messi can still move the ball from a small space to the opponent's dangerous area. But not many. The reason is that Messi's balance ability and core strength are also very strong. Generally speaking, if the defensive players squeeze in a few times, they can't squeeze him at all, and there is no way to make Messi lose his center of gravity. Then Messi has a very high ability to predict the actions of the opponent's players. He can know what interception actions the opponent's players will make, so that he can use his excellent dribbling skills to bring the ball over without let the other party intercept it. Therefore, when defending Messi one-on-one, you must have it use absolute speed. If Messi passes by, he can still catch up, or players like Ashley Cole and Nesta, who also have very strong prediction skills and a very good sense of position, can guard Messi. Feng's current ability to predict is not enough, so if one or two players pass by, he can directly take the lead in the middle, where the opponent's defense is relatively dense, and the success rate is still relatively low. Feng didn't want to use a method with a relatively low success rate because it wasn't cool enough to play football. He must find a behavior pattern that can not only help the team open up the goal account, but also make less runs and fewer actions soon. Feng discovered a loophole in Swansea's defense. There is a central defender on Swansea's defense, Fernandez, who wears jersey number 30. He is an Argentinian and is about 1.9 meters tall, a little taller than 23. He looked ferocious and had good frontal defense capabilities, but Feng could see that this guy was not very athletic. The first is that the turn is relatively slow, coupled with a lack of absolute speed and explosive power. Feng easily used his speed to eat the opponent alive. Although Feng's speed was not very fast, he only needed to be faster than the opponent's center back, so Feng slowly walked between the opponent's center backs. Then I felt the strength of the opponent during the enhanced golf ball. Again, the opponent's strength is still stronger than Feng. Feng took it hard, feeling that if he didn't use Haaland's sprinting ability, he probably wouldn't be able to hold the opponent, so I still implement plan A. Finally finding the opponent's defensive loophole, Feng began to prepare for the ball. The arms were raised high with a sound. Fernandez was also a little puzzled. Is there something wrong with this Asian boy's brain? She was still close to him, but he actually dared to raise his hand and ask. What's more, in front of Feng, there are two teammates from his own team. He also has his own partner behind him, who can fill in and help defend. How does this kid pretend that he doesn't exist? At this time, Arsenal threatened Swansea through the attack from the wing, but Swansea played a 4,411 lineup. In fact, it is a variant of 442. Their midfielders are in parallel positions. The two wide players, Routledge and Barrow, are both full midfielders. They can step forward to play as wingers, and they can also step back to help their fullbacks defend. Therefore, with Arsenal's 433 lineup, it is not easy to make a fuss on the wing. They need their own fullbacks to help the players on the wing open up the situation. Now I see Feng asking for the ball in the middle. Although he saw Feng being tightly wrapped up by the opponent's defense, out of trust in Feng, Xhaka directly passed the ball without saying a word. Chapter 236. Easy to handle. Seeing the ball coming, Fernandez felt confident that not only could he crush Feng in terms of strength, but his height and jumping ability were also unmatched by Feng. He was very confident to take control of this high-altitude ball. However, just when he was about to take off, he felt a strong force coming from him in an instant. Fairland's center of gravity was a little unstable. Under this situation, he naturally couldn't jump high when he took off, and Feng didn't take this point directly. He just wanted to prevent Fernandez from hitting the ball and destroying it, so after destroying Fernandez's balance, he immediately thrust it in the opposite direction into the Swansea penalty area. Under this situation, naturally some Swansea players in the distance complained about Feng's pushing foul, but Feng really didn't use his hands. The Premier League encourages confrontation, and the referee will definitely not call a foul without obvious hand movements. In addition, Swansea is a small team. The small team has no human rights because the Football Association of England does not like 456, who made 456 promise to the English Football Association to be the coach of the England national team back then and then reneged on his promise. Of course he would be targeted by the English Football Association. However, there is a lot of harsh criticism of 456, but it is impossible for Swansea to take advantage. When Feng did this, Fernandez was equivalent to being on top. If he was on the back line of defense, that was a huge mistake. Feng had already thought about how to deal with the ball, so after destroying Fernandez's center of gravity, he immediately pushed forward in the opposite direction and grabbed the ball's landing point earlier than everyone else. Although the ball was a bit high, Feng took 2 steps and immediately jumped into the air. He jumped up and used his outer instep to remove the ball. The whole movement is very smooth. It can be said that it is done in one go, and there is a feeling of lifting weight with ease. Beautiful. Feng stopped the ball very steadily. It was as if there were magnets on his feet, holding the ball firmly to his feet. After Feng stopped the ball in the air, he didn't make any unnecessary movements. Pick it up with the other foot as soon as it lands. He lifted the ball very easily, thus avoiding another Swansea defender who came to help defend before the ball hit the ground. Feng passed by again and then shot a lob. A series of dazzling moves were performed so smoothly that the Swansea goalkeeper was at a loss. He was always guarding against Feng's volleys, but he did not expect that Feng would shoot a volley at the last moment. Swansea's goalkeeper had already guarded the near post. Feng's angle at that position was already relatively small. Swansea's goalkeeper judged that if he wanted to shoot, he could only shoot from this angle. Other than that, there is only one way to sweep the ball to the goal. But now that many of Swansea's defensive players have returned, Feng wants to sweep the ball in front of the goal to create a threat, but this hope is not high. At most, it will only give Arsenal a corner kick, but he didn't expect Feng to shoot. The lob is a very basic shooting action. Read more novels by visiting our website Night Novels, but in a game, there may not be a single shot in the entire game. This is very time sensitive. In most cases, the offensive player is single-handedly shooting the ball, and the angle is blocked by the goalkeeper. One kick. There are few people like Feng who can face so many defensive players and still shoot from such a small angle. The kicking technique of lob shot is relatively difficult to master. After all, shooting is all about hitting a straight line. If the straight line can extend to the goal, a goal can be scored, but the ball must land in the goal, which requires higher accuracy of footwork. Therefore, when facing the goalkeeper one-on-one, it is more certain to take a lob shot. In a situation like Feng's, few players will choose to lob this shot. Therefore, Swansea's goalkeeper's judgment was a bit inaccurate. When the ball was picked out by Feng, he quickly stepped back, but it was too late. Feng pursued extreme precision, and the arc and speed were all coordinated very well. It can go over the defensive player's head. Even if they jump up, they can't reach it. The speed is also faster. The goalkeeper quickly stepped back, but the ball was still moving very fast. It started to fall before he could get to a suitable position. This forced the Swansea goalkeeper to jump hastily, but his right hand raised high still could not touch it. Encountered football as the football fell into the net. The entire stadium instantly burst into cheers. Beautiful goal. Feng, his mentality is really stable now. Under such circumstances, he actually chose to shoot. He is becoming more and more like a general. We can see that Feng is facing C by himself now. Wangxia. There were several defensive players, but he did not panic. He used this small space to move around, giving himself a space to shoot, and calmly chose to shoot. Through slow-motion replay, it can be seen that Feng observed the goalkeeper's position when he passed by for the second consecutive stop. This alone can distinguish Feng from ordinary forwards. 2 commentators in the studio. Feng also had all kinds of rainbow farts, and he spared no effort in praising him on the international match day that just passed. The national team just lost 2 games, which made domestic fans very frustrated. At this time, Feng's goal also swept away the gloom in the hearts of domestic fans. It can be said to be very refreshing. What's more, this is not a simple goal. The entire score and process is pleasing to the eye. Just like a very exquisite work of art, it was obvious that he was challenging the opponent's defense by himself, but after Feng did it, he was so free and elegant that it felt like an adult was kicking a child. The opponent's defensive player fought so hard to grab him that his veins were exposed, his eyes were absolutely fierce, and the expression on his face was ferocious, but Feng was always very calm, and his movements were quite easy, giving him a feeling of being able to move 1,000 pounds through slow motion. Fans can also see this strong contrast. This also gives Feng's goal a very strange sense of beauty. The fans were also deeply impressed by Feng's shot. You guys. If the forwards of the national football team hate Feng's footwork, why would the country be afraid that the Iranian team would destroy them in minutes? They are so handsome. I always feel that Feng and these Swansea defenders are bullying them. This is obviously not on the same level. The national football team always says that players are required to run like mad dogs on the field. The problem is to run like mad dogs. If you can score goals and win the game, even if Su Feng is like this on the field. Just like an old man, he was just lying on the ground, but he also scored a goal. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 237. Easy to handle 2. Once the goal account is opened, it will be difficult for Swansea. As a weak team visiting the Emirates Stadium, the goal is just to get 1 point. Now that Su Feng was the first to score, they had no choice but to counter-attack. Arsenal is not afraid of the opponent playing offensive football at all, but is afraid of the opponent's iron barrel formation. Now that Swansea has come out of its shell, Arsenal is even more comfortable, especially now that Swansea pays great attention to Su Feng in defense. This also gives more opportunities to other Arsenal players at this time. Su Feng's kick became even more unrestrained after one person attracted heavy defense. When the ball was passed, he also kicked the ball. Moved the ball quickly without giving Swansea's players any chance to defend themselves. Sometimes their teammates haven't caught up and are in place yet. Su Feng also chose to use his skillful ball handling skills to leave the ball at his feet to delay time. Although Su Feng's ball control attributes have not yet reached the master level, but under the influence of the absolute ball feel, this value is not as simple as it seems on the surface, and it still has a huge bonus. Therefore, whether it is stopping the ball, picking up the ball, or shooting the ball, it can ensure a very high accuracy. The fans are watching the fun professionals look at the door in the studio. Zhang He said in surprise. Su Feng, these few moves in the front court to get the ball are really amazing. With multiple people defending, Su Feng conceded the ball twice. You know, even if Zai is double-teamed like this, he will lose control of the football more than 10 times in a game. Su Feng's handling is indeed very good. The key is his current stop. He can always control the ball very well. He stopped at his feet and stayed away from the defensive players. According to observations, Su Feng seems to have not been so precise in previous games, that is, in these 2 games. Su Feng's growth is really too fast. Swansea's defensive players are lacking in defensive skills. After all, they are a weak team. Coupled with the strong body they are proud of, it will not work at all in front of Su Feng. Therefore, it is really difficult to get the ball at Su Feng's feet and destroy the ball at Su Feng's feet. However, Su Feng can observe calmly. The 2 mistakes in passing the ball caused the loss of control of the football, mainly because of Su Feng's the field of view is not wide enough. After all, Su Feng's field of vision doesn't even reach 70 right now, very narrow. Just with the ball at his feet, Su Feng is really not afraid of anyone now. In terms of strength, Su Feng has also been able to use Haaland's sprint very skillfully to help him strengthen his confrontation. This method of breaking down and using skills also allows Su Feng to make full use of the few skills he has. When Su Feng has more skills in the future, he will become even more powerful under this circumstance. Arsenal fought back and forth and finally defeated Swansea 5-0. Read more novels by visiting our website Night Novels. Su Feng scored a goal and provided an assist. This data may seem a bit inconspicuous under such a big score, but in fact anyone who watched the game knows that Su Feng played a very important role in the victory. Big as the MVP of this game, Su Feng naturally wanted. Competition is over. Zhan Jun said with emotion in the studio. After Su Feng joined Arsenal this season, it can be said that he has integrated very well. It has made Arsenal's offense more flexible and smoother. It's just that such a good player cannot be selected for our national team. I have to say that he is sorry. Zhang He didn't answer, he just giggled. There is no way. A professional like him, of course, is well aware of some of the shady stories of the national football team. These things cannot be said on the table. Even if they are facts, they cannot be talked about everywhere. Su Feng, smoking and drinking will have a bad effect on young people. They are all excuses. Are there fewer people smoking and drinking in the national football team? Su Feng won the MVP and did not accept interviews from reporters, even though the media tried to block him in the mixed interview area. Su Feng also used his flexible steps to avoid him. He was a little tired of the same routine after every game, especially in this game. Su Feng knew without even thinking about what the reporters would ask, and they would definitely ask about the Korean player who came on as a substitute for Swansea later. No Asian derby. Su Feng is too lazy to respond to these boring questions. In Su Feng's opinion, although Ji Chengyang's position is different from that of Sun Xingmin, his strength is not on the same level at all. It's hard to talk about it, and there is nothing to say after Ji Chengyong came up in the second half. Su Feng couldn't take care of himself. He was playing like a clown, and in the end he became so angry that he tried to knock down Su Feng from behind, but he didn't expect that Su Feng was as easy as having eyes on his back and dodged with a small jump. What else is there to say about this kind of performance? Do we still need to brag about each other in business? It would be too hypocritical to say that the other party is actually quite capable after winning a game. Arsenal faced their Champions League rivals at home 5 days later, a Bulgarian team Ludogorets. This team has limited strength. In addition, Arsenal is currently far ahead in the Champions League group stage, so Wenger plans to make a large rotation in this game. After all, less than 72 hours after playing Ludogorets, Arsenal will face Middlesbrough. If there is no rotation, it will definitely affect the game against Middlesbrough. After winning Swansea, Wenger gave the team a day off. Originally, Su Feng planned to smoke and drink at home to increase his attributes. However, they received an invitation from Ramsey. Several of the injured players were going to have a good gathering at home with a few players with whom they usually have a good relationship. Have a party in Ramsey's backyard for everyone to relax? No way, I still have to socialize a bit. So Su Feng casually took a bottle of Guai Longshan from the refrigerator and prepared to take it as a gift before going to the appointment. This is better in foreign countries. Although you have to bring gifts when you are a guest, they do not need to be expensive cookies made by yourself. A bottle of wine or a book you have read can be used as gifts, and the host will not dislike it. According to the time, Su Feng arrived at Ramsey's house on time. At this time, many players were already at Ramsey's house with their partners except for Su Feng, who was surprised to see Tottenham Hotspur player Ben Davies here. The others were basically Arsenal teammates. Chapter 238. There are more ways to increase attributes, but it's normal to think about it. Ben Davies is from Wales, and it's normal to have some connection with Ramsey, two people from the same national team. Although Tottenham Hotspur and Arsenal are mortal enemies, it cannot affect the relationship between compatriots. Every player, whether it was the relatively older Giroud or the younger one, was accompanied by a wife or girlfriend, except for Su Feng, who is alone. Ramsey's girlfriend is Colin Rowlands, whose name is the same as the wife of Manchester United legend Wayne Rooney, and she is also a childhood sweetheart in world football. Many players' wives are childhood sweethearts. The most famous one is of course Messi and his childhood sweetheart wife Antonella. Even in North London, there are many Harry Kane's wives who were childhood sweethearts with him. As a well-known football star, if he does not change his original intention and marries his childhood sweetheart and grown-up girlfriend, he is considered a good character and can resist the temptation of the outside world. You must know that Premier League players in England are quite popular with girls. When Su Feng was drinking in the bar, he often encountered various hot and sexy beauties throwing themselves into his arms. He has reduced the number of times he goes to the bar to drink, mainly for this reason. He is really tired of dealing with those violent winds and butterflies. Can't we just let him smoke and drink quietly? Giroud saw Su Feng sitting alone on the sofa playing video games, and came over and said, "Brother, you should find a companion." Su Feng raised a beer bottle and clinked glasses with Giroud. "It doesn't matter, I enjoy the loneliness now." Giroud didn't believe it, and he suddenly leaned next to Su Feng. "If I weren't a brother, I wouldn't even tell you. Remember, there are many hot girls on this website." Su Feng glanced at Giroud's wife Jennifer, who was chatting with Ramsey's girlfriend. This is Giroud's joke. Quite flowery, but it's not surprising. After all, the French are so romantic. Su Feng glanced twice. This is equivalent to a dating site for foreigners. How boring do you have to be to hunt for beauty here? Especially those who have girlfriends and wives. If they are discovered by gossip media such as The Sun, wouldn't that bother you enough? So Su Feng also lacked interest. Besides, there are still some differences between Chinese aesthetics and foreigners' aesthetics. At least the girls on the third page of The Sun, those so-called models with big breasts and fat buttocks, Su Feng, have no interest at all. People like Anne Hathaway and Jessica Alba are more in line with Su Feng's aesthetic. There is no way. Atticus have very high standards. Besides, now Su Feng mainly focuses on improving his own strength, and is not very interested in these things at all. Hi. Just as Su Feng pretended to be interested in watching Giroud show off how he flirted with those beauties online, a girl passed by Su Feng and stretched out her hand to say hello. Su Feng also responded out of politeness, but he didn't expect that a system message would pop up this time. Ding. The system detected that the host had completed a conversation. Vision plus 0.001. Read more novels by visiting our website Night Novels. Su Feng was also stunned for a moment. Strictly speaking, the other party should be chatting with me, right? It seemed that this was only available after the system was upgraded. Before that, Su Feng had been approached by many girls in bars. There is no such thing as jumping out, otherwise Su Feng would have become a master among flowers. Although for an offensive player like Su Feng, attributes such as vision can only be regarded as the icing on the cake. The most important thing is the ability to score goals, but with the improvement effect, who can have too much? Thinking of this, Su Feng couldn't help but get excited. He immediately jumped up from the sofa and came to the backyard of Ramsey's house. There are many beautiful girls here. Although most of them were family members of the players, Su Feng didn't care and greeted them one by one. As a result, not a single system message popped up. In other words, if you already have a boyfriend, it doesn't count if you have a husband, right? It seems that the system is relatively moral. Jirao saw Su Feng's unusual behavior and couldn't help but pull him aside. Brother, although I know you are in a hurry, please don't worry. There are many beauties on this website. Remember, don't attack the people around you. Su Feng was speechless. He didn't want to attack the people around him. Just add some attributes. It's not what you think. Su Feng was naturally familiar with the painted doors and other messy things in the football circle. As a Chinese with a moral bottom line, he will certainly not be as morally bankrupt and worldly as foreigners. The rabbit hasn't eaten the grass on the edge of the nest yet. In this way, tomorrow my wife will take the children back to France, and in the evening I will take you to a place that will definitely open your eyes, okay? In the past, Su Feng would have refused, but now he wants to go open your eyes. If you can increase your attributes just by chatting with beautiful women, wouldn't it be much faster than smoking and drinking? It would be great to have another way to increase attributes. Especially now that many hidden attributes have been opened, Su Feng also needs more channels to increase his attributes. I heard that after you French people got married, both parties had fun outside and did not refuse their partners to have lovers outside. Is it true? How is it possible? We are very loyal to our partners and to our families. They are also very loyal. We just need some freshness in our lives occasionally. Dajiru said it passionately, and his expression was very sincere. Then I'll pretend to believe it. It's not that convenient if a woman smokes at a party. But drinking doesn't matter. It sounds like there are a lot of old players, but in fact everyone is in their 20s, and the older ones are in their early 30s. Belongs to the category of young people. We are also at that age where we love to play. Athletes, in particular, are more energetic. Young players around the same age as Su Feng prefer to go online. Some people prefer to play games, such as FIFA football or something. Su Feng was a bit weak at this kind of game, but he was bored at the party, so he played a few games at Ramsey's house. He couldn't help but sigh. It would be great if he could increase his attributes by playing games online. 5 days later, Su Feng started against the third opponent in the Champions League group stage. There is no way. Everyone else can rotate, but Su Feng cannot. Everyone knows that Su Feng consumes less in the game. In addition, several Arsenal forwards are also injured now. Su Feng also had to work harder. Ludogorets' strength is limited. Even if Su Feng came on the field with a bunch of substitutes, he easily won. Chapter 239. Military order. Su Feng scored 2 goals in this game, helping the team win 2-0. After the game, Su Feng didn't want to be interviewed by reporters. He just said a few perfunctory words and hurriedly prepared to go back to the locker room. As a result, before taking 2 steps, a system message suddenly popped up. Ding. The system detects that the host has completed a conversation. Vision plus 0.001. Is this okay? Su Feng couldn't help but look back suspiciously, and sure enough, he found a blonde, blue-eyed, tall and beautiful reporter among a group of reporters. Is it because of this? So Su Feng stopped. I am a reporter from the German Kicker magazine. My name is Marta. Seeing Su Feng stop and talk to herself actively, the beautiful reporter immediately responded. At this time, other media were a little dissatisfied. What did Su Feng mean? Pay more attention to sex than friends, but this is still news. Su Feng answered a few questions from Marta in a friendly manner. However, the system did not pop up the attribute added content again. It seems that how to use this aspect to increase one's own attributes requires further exploration. Jilu had previously promised Su Feng to take Su Feng to learn more, but because Jilu's wife discovered some clues, he failed. In the end, Jilu gave Su Feng an address, but Su Feng didn't dare to go alone. Girls here abroad are really too open-minded. Su Feng was afraid that he would be eaten alive by others in the past. As a boy, you must know how to protect yourself when living abroad. Don't think that girls are very reserved. After winning this game, Arsenal ranked first in the Champions League group with 9 points. There should be no problem qualifying. If we win another victory, we can basically lock in the first place in the group. Arsenal's start this time was quite ideal. The whole team is also in high morale because the team has achieved successive victories, but now head coach Arsene Wenger still has a bit of a headache. Although the team has achieved many victories and had a very smooth start, the team's injuries are also very serious, with the current injured players still not recovering. 2 more injuries occurred in this game. Fullback Bellerin is also injured. Walcott is also injured. The reason why Little Tiger has not been able to grow to his ideal career height is mainly because he was troubled by injuries. In fact, many of Arsenal's talented players were ruined due to injuries, just like Arsenal's Prince Wilshere retired before the age of 30, completely affected by injuries. The only thing that makes Wenger feel a little lucky is that Feng, who has just joined the team, really has a tough body. Almost every game has been played for the entire game, but now, not to mention being injured and suspended, there is not even a little injury. I have to say that Feng's big sword kicking style can still make Feng play. The rate is guaranteed, but Feng alone cannot support Arsenal. Not only is there a shortage of players in the forward line, but also in the midfield, and the main defense force is also stretched. Read more novels by visiting our website Night Novels. 272 are currently being transferred out of the reserve team by Wenger. Really no one uses it anymore. Ramsey's injury hasn't healed yet, and Coquelin was injured again. If you don't use 272, who else can you use? The current conflict lies in Feng's dislike of 272. As we all know, everyone in the entire British Peninsula knows this. And 272 also has the same strong dislike for Feng. It is basically impossible for the two to have any cooperation on the court. Although Wenger has planned to clean up 272, but no one is using it now, so he took it out and used it reluctantly. If two people still have this uncooperative attitude, it will definitely have the opposite effect on the court. As a senior head coach, Wenger certainly knows that these players have such conflicts with their teammates. It is also a very common thing and cannot be suppressed by the authority of the head coach. Now that the team is troubled by injuries, it really puts Wenger in a dilemma, since they will face Middlesbrough in 72 hours. Wenger did not give the team a holiday. All players have to return to the training base, but there is no high-intensity training. Instead, masseurs, health nurses and team doctors help the players with rehabilitation training. Only Feng didn't need this. He could just lie down. Middlesbrough are not a strong team. At least it's not a strong team now, and it is very likely that they will be relegated again this season. But facing Arsenal, which is full of wounded soldiers, Wenger is not sure whether he can successfully win. So Wenger, who is looking at leisurely Feng, planned to make a breakthrough from here. Seeing his boss calling him Feng, he lazily stood up and came to Wenger's side. "Boss, come to me if you have anything to do." That's it. The injuries in the team are very serious now, as you have seen, so I have to recruit some second-line players from the reserve team to the first team. In order to cope with the following games, boss, you are really a good boss who devotes your heart and soul to the team. Your level of professionalism is really amazing to us. You are an example for us to learn from and a role model for us. Wenger also couldn't laugh or cry. It's not wrong for me to ask you to come over and let you flatter me. What I mean is that I am going to let 272 start the next game with you. The two of you are very close to each other. If there is no cooperation between you, then our offense will be very fragmented. Then it's better not to let him go and just kick Middlesbrough. I can do it. Feng thought to himself that 272 still wanted to have a chance to succeed, so he hurriedly kicked him out of the window. He didn't want to see this guy for a second. That disgusting face. He still wants me to cooperate with him, but I can't wait to let him die. Are you sure? Of course. If there is no way to win this game, you can arrange the next game as you please. Let me go east and never west, I heard Feng promise. Wenger finally nodded after thinking the reason for restarting 272 is not for the team's consideration. Since Feng can guarantee to help the team win, then starting 272 is meaningless. Okay then. It's up to you. Feng naturally had to try his best in this competition and couldn't be more carefree. It doesn't matter if you don't play well enough in a game. Compared with things like holding 272 to death, it doesn't matter at all. Currently, European bookmakers have offered odds on Feng now. Feng's average running distance per game does not exceed 7,000 meters. Some events are even lower than 5,000 meters, so the bookmaker also offers Feng odds as long as Feng exceeds 8 kilometers. You will get a 50 bonus. Chapter 240. Unique style. However, there are still some die-hard fans who believe that Feng will run more than 8 kilometers in this game. especially some games that seem to be more important as a result. Su Feng even ran less distance in the Champions League games in the last Champions League group match. Su Feng's running distance was only over 4,700 meters. He only ran a little more than sec, but even with such a small amount of movement, Su Feng still scored 2 goals. How can you explain it? Professionally speaking, Su Feng's goal is a typical process of an opportunist, but no matter how opportunistic he is, for example, the most typical Inzaghi family cannot stand still. Therefore, testing back and forth on the offside line is a tactic suitable for the opponent's defensive players, a typical battle of wits and courage, but Su Feng's skills are not there in the way of being as quiet as a virgin, but moving like a rabbit when moving is also a battle of wits and courage for defensive players. Su Feng may be more difficult to guard against, after all, they are testing back and forth like Inzaghi. All you need to do is keep an eye on him, but Su Feng really doesn't know when he will move. One is physical fatigue, and the other is psychological fatigue, but most athletes have relatively good physical fitness, so there is no big problem with their physical fitness, but it's even more difficult mentally. These things are innate and difficult to practice the day after tomorrow, so in comparison, defensive players on the back end hate Su Feng even more. As a result, they had to concentrate very hard throughout the game, and their spirits were tense, which made them very tired. This way of playing football seems a bit opportunistic, but most people really can't learn it, because the main reason why Su Feng can tire the defenders is that he can score goals. If you want to learn from other players, you must first be able to score goals. If you can't score, it doesn't matter if others don't defend. In short, to sum up, it seems that Su Feng is a very strange player who gives the opponent's defensive players a headache. Generally speaking, when a player is not familiar with the opponent at the beginning, he can always use this unfamiliarity to make a big fuss, so he keeps scoring goals. But when the opposing team starts to pay attention to your targeted tactics, performance will often drop significantly. Generally speaking, after the first half of a season is over, the second half will be targeted. Usually a significant decline in statistics occurs in the second season. This phenomenon is also called the rookie wall. At present, Su Feng can be said to be famous in the British Peninsula. His unique way of playing has brought him huge traffic and attracted the attention of many teams. Everyone will naturally study how to defend him, but so far, no very effective results have been achieved. After all, Su Feng's way of playing is too weird. It can be said that it is really difficult to find other players of the same type in history. Read more novels by visiting our website Night Novels. Tottenham Hotspur star and Manchester United player Berbatov is famous for his chick playing style, which has some similarities with Su Feng's current extraction method, but the key point is that Su Feng played more chicly than Berbatov and was lazier than Berbatov in his sports program. Bulgarian star Berbatov said that he was much harder working than Su Feng back then. The reason why he seems to run slower than the referee and can score goals just by walking on the court is because he has a lot of smart moves without the ball. When the fans weren't paying attention, he was already running a lot. During Berbatov's career, he was able to run an average of more than 9 kilometers per game. Su Feng was going too far. It was like growing in the soil and not moving at all. Running without the ball does not exist for Su Feng. As long as the ball does not come to Su Feng will not move at all. Berbatov said that if he had played like Su Feng, he would have been beaten to death by Ferguson long ago. That is, only a temper like Wenger can tolerate a player like Su Feng. Berbatov also said that although Su Feng is lazy, his sense of smell is very sensitive and he can seize every fleeting opportunity. This is a talent. Most players can only seize every pass as an absolute opportunity and try their best to fight for it. But Su Feng can distinguish which ones are ordinary opportunities and which ones are excellent opportunities. Every time there is an operation in Asia, there is a particularly dangerous time. Su Feng's judgment is unique to Scorpion. It is because Berbatov's playing style looks somewhat similar to Su Feng that Sky Sports deliberately conducted an interview with a Bulgarian star. The words of Bulgarian star Berbatov may sound like a slight criticism of Su Feng, but they are still an appreciation of Su Feng's unique sense of smell. After Messi and Ronaldo, in fact, the homogeneity of players in world football is very serious. After all, football now pays more attention to teamwork, so players lack individuality. Basically, they are like precision instruments and precision parts, which are integrated into the entire lineup. There are very few individual players like Su Feng now. Some individual players are just in terms of personality, not in terms of playing style. So when Su Feng, a weirdo, suddenly emerged in the Premier League, it naturally attracted the attention of the world. Su Feng's traffic was huge. This can be clearly shown in the number of views on YouTube videos of Su Feng, who is very carefree and uninhibited, with confusing movements and elegant handling of the ball. have had more than 30 million views, and the most views have reached more than 100 million. Fans from Bangzi country next door said that Su Feng was an internet celebrity, but no matter what, Su Feng's current performance is soaring like a rocket, and he has quickly surpassed the superstar Sun Xingmin of Bangzi country. In this game, Arsenal will face Middlesbrough at home. Judging from the standings, Arsenal and Chelsea are very close to each other. Winning this game will help consolidate Arsenal's advantage in the standings at present, except for Arsenal, which played Liverpool in the first round. The other teams are basically mid to lower teams. This schedule is still very good if we cannot seize this opportunity and score more points. We will easily fall behind when we face the strong teams in the Premier League. Middlesbrough is not strong and currently ranked at the bottom of the standings. Chapter 241. Distinguished strength and weakness. After the Championship was promoted to the Premier League, the team did not recruit aggressively. Most of the main players are still players from the English Championship. Trying to avoid relegation in the Premier League with such a lineup can be said to be very difficult. However, even if Middlesbrough's board of directors spends all the nearly £100 million in television broadcast fees on transfers, it may not be able to help the team successfully avoid relegation. Perhaps for this purpose, they just want to try it out with their current lineup. However, the Premier League is extremely cruel, has no strength, and cannot tolerate any falsehood. This is also perfectly reflected in the standings. Arsenal fans are naturally not worried about this game. Middlesbrough only has one well-known player, the Spaniard Negrito, but he is now at the end of his career and is not in peak condition. Arsenal put together a starting lineup, and basically all the main players played. After all, the next game will be a week later, so there is no need to conserve strength, although there will be another English League Cup game on Wednesday. But for that game, Wenger had decided to use substitute players and youth training to form a team. There is no need for the main force to play. After all, they are facing Reading, a team from League One. The strength gap is a bit big, and as for the League Cup, this kind of cup competition is not within Wenger's consideration. Only after reaching the semi-finals or finals will we consider playing with the main force. This game lacks excitement. Except for loyal Arsenal fans, few neutral fans pay attention to this game. Arsenal's home opponent is a very weak newly promoted team. The total value of the entire lineup is only over €20 million, not as valuable as Su Feng alone. Although he has only played in the Premier League for half a season, Su Feng's value has increased significantly. Currently in the German transfer market, Su Feng's worth has reached €47.5 million for a player who is only 18 years old. This value is already quite high. Middlesbrough have no other ideas for this visit to the away stadium. Being able to score 1 point is considered a very big victory, so they also arranged a 451 lineup. This is exactly the same as Swansea. However, Arsenal fans are quite optimistic about this game. Swansea is stronger than Middlesbrough, but Arsenal still scored 3 goals against Swansea and kept a clean sheet. Why did the Middlesbrough team retreat in front of Arsenal? At the pre-match press conference, Wenger brought Su Feng to the stage, which also shows the French coach's preference for Su Feng. There is an unspoken rule here. Generally speaking, the players who attend the pre-match press conference will usually be the starting players for the game. Of course, this is not a hard and fast rule, it is just an unspoken rule. Generally speaking, it is not a special situation. Players who attended the pre-match press conference will appear in the starting lineup, so Su Feng's fans are naturally looking forward to this game. Read more novels by visiting our website Night Novels. It doesn't matter what opponent Arsenal plays, what's important is that they can see Su Feng appear in the team, and there is a reason to watch the game when he appears on the court in the lineup. As Su Feng's goals are rising steadily, domestic fans can't help but wonder whether Su Feng can occupy a place on the Premier League scorer list this season. Although Arsenal has not won the Champions League for more than 10 years, it has attracted a large number of fans with the extremely gorgeous style of play created by Wenger. It is said that the Queen of England is also an Arsenal fan because Queen Elizabeth of England once met the entire Arsenal team at Buckingham Palace. Of course, the Queen of England will definitely not appear at Arsenal's home court to watch the game, but there will never be a shortage of celebrities attending Arsenal's home ground. Since Su Feng joined Arsenal this season, Zhan Jun and his partner director Zhang have also become the royal commentators for Arsenal games. There are several domestic sports websites that have the broadcasting rights of the Premier League, including the 5 Chongyang TV stations, which often broadcast Arsenal games. But none of them are more attractive to the audience than the partnership of Zhan Jun and Zhang Guidance. Zhan Jun has all kinds of data about the team at his fingertips, and his preparations are very thorough and detailed. Director Zhang has his own very professional and unique insights into football. This is one of the reasons why it attracts a large number of fans. Before the game started, the camera flashed across the audience. Before ordinary fans could react, Zhang Jun had already announced the names of the celebrities who appeared in the stands one by one. Hey, this is the English singer Adele. It is said that he is a player of Tottenham Hotspur. I don't know why he showed up at the home court to watch the game. When Stefan saw the director's footage, they clearly appeared in the audience. Got a fat woman who looked very rich. It can only be said that Zhang Jun's knowledge is so rich that he knows everything about football. He even knows which team a singer like Adele is a fan of before the players of these two teams entered the field. They also keenly captured another celebrity fan in the stands, an American internet celebrity wearing Arsenal's home jersey. Isn't this Kim Kardashian? I can't appreciate it. Why do all the female fans Arsenal attracts have this kind of body type? It's not for Feng, right? This woman is very good at taking advantage of the heat. No. Feng's crime is not this serious. The fans couldn't help but complain before the start of this game. Although the opponent was very weak, the coaching staff led by Wenger still spent a lot of time studying Feng also knows that Middlesbrough must of course rely on defense when facing a wealthy club like Arsenal. Arsenal doesn't like these teams that use iron barrels. Cracking the iron barrel array is always a world-class problem. There are some similarities between Middlesbrough and Swansea before it. However, after actually playing, Feng discovered that Swansea could still attack. At least his style was full offense and full defense. Middlesbrough are completely defensive players, and they basically have a big kick after getting the ball. It was stalling for time from the first half onwards. The game lasted 20 minutes, almost all of which showed Arsenal attacking, but there were too many players in the opponent's penalty area. Kong has a relatively high control rate and number of shots, and the score is still 0-0. In fact, Feng didn't get too many good opportunities. Middlesbrough didn't guard Feng at all. They just piled people in the penalty area. As for Feng, he stood wherever he liked. Anyway, as long as they seal off the ball path, they don't have to worry about anything else. Chapter 242. Explosive point. This idea was good at least in the first 20 minutes. Feng didn't get the ball at least once. In the 20 minutes of the first half, Feng didn't even touch the ball, let alone score the opponent's goal. But in fact, Feng did not stand still in this game like before. Feng's running in this game was still very active, but because there are so many people entering Middlesbrough, it is really difficult to find a better receiving position. The fans were shocked when they saw Feng's active running in this game. Feng took the wrong medicine today. Why is he running so aggressively? Is it Feng's twin brother who is playing? The key problem is that Feng is always able to score goals when he is standing there. However, he is running so aggressively today and even scores consecutive goals. There is no chance to get the ball. It seems that after a player has formed his own unique style, he must not change it easily. This is Zhang. He said Arsenal seems to be a bit underestimating the enemy, and the defenders have already assisted to the center line. Here it comes. If you cannot attack for a long time, it is easy to cause problems. Feng is indeed running more actively today than before, but Middlesbrough has too many people in the penalty area. They are all legs. If the ball is passed, Feng will. It's quite difficult for Feng to get the ball. Zhang He's vision is quite unique. It took less than 2 minutes for him to finish saying this. Middlesbrough found an opportunity to counterattack. They still took control of the football and kicked it forward as before, but this time the big foot was headed towards Negrito the Spaniard, and must if he came to compete for this high ball. Negrito used his rich experience to win this high-altitude battle. He headed the ball and passed the ball to the wing at this time. A black man named Adama Traoré, Middlesbrough's winger, stepped in at high speed. Fans were stunned to see how fast this guy could sprint. Magusa, so fast. Adama Traoré looked like a sprinter, although he was closer to football than Monreal. He was unexpectedly thrown away by Adama Traoré. In an instant Monreal wanted to foul Adama Traoré, but Adama Traoré pushed him aside. Look at Adama Traoré's strong body. Everyone was shocked with his explosive muscles and lightning speed. Where did this kid come from? Middlesbrough, who had been watching the game for more than 20 minutes without paying attention, had this strong man at this time. Zhang Jun immediately sent everyone very interesting information. At this point, Zhang Jun can be said to be the only one in the country. Middlesbrough number 37 is Adama Traoré. He is a player from Barcelona's youth training. He just transferred to Middlesbrough from Aston Villa for €8 million this year. He is a young player. A young player who is only 20 years old. His advantage is that he is extremely fast and very skillful in dribbling, but his shooting and passing skills are still far behind. Even if a player is poor in passing and shooting, there is still a high probability of scoring a single goal. Read more novels by visiting our website Night Novels. After Adama Traoré broke through Monreal, he made a diagonal pass and prepared to enter the penalty area at this time. Mustafi and Koscielny did not have time to chase back because they were too high, especially Mustafi had just competed with Negredo for the high-altitude ball. The two people inevitably have some physical contact and entanglement. Negredo is very experienced, and after falling down, he also deliberately hindered Mustafi from turning back to visit at this time. Adama Traoré was about to dribble the ball into the penalty area on the other side. The only one Kaskari can push up is Arsenal's midfielder Swiss star Xhaka. I saw Adama Traoré dribbling the ball into the penalty area. Xhaka, with all his strength to chase back, spotted the gap and suddenly made a shovel. This was his last chance to stop Adama Traoré. However, at the moment when Xhaka's toe was about to touch the football, Adama Traoré was still a little faster than him and pulled the ball out with his toes. Xhaka failed to touch the football. The inertia of the forward shovel brought Adama Traoré down. Instead, the referee immediately blew the whistle. He ran over and pointed firmly at the penalty spot. Then a red card was shown to Xhaka. Seeing this scene, Xhaka lay on the ground and couldn't help but cover his face. Seeing this scene, the fans were speechless. Xhaka, this is too impulsive. Even if he doesn't make a tackle, it's great. Let Middlesbrough score one. Arsenal can't afford it. It's a bit difficult now that there is one less person. This goal actually you can't blame Xhaka. Even the central defender can't catch up. He's the last barrier. If you have a chance to destroy the ball, of course you have to try your best. Since a penalty kick has been awarded, why should we show a red card? Generally speaking, a yellow card is enough for a penalty kick. The key problem is that Xhaka is now the last person in the defense. According to the rules, if the last person in the defense commits a foul, it will be a red card. Middlesbrough's penalty kick was taken by their main striker Spaniard Negredo. Negredo joined Middlesbrough on loan from Manchester City this season. Although he is a bit old, he is quite experienced and has a big heart. Facing Arsenal's goalkeeper Petr Cech, Negredo scored the ball in one fell swoop. Penalties are inherently difficult to save. Cech failed to keep the opponent's shot away, and no one could blame him. Arsenal are now 0-1 behind at home. The team still has one less player to play. The situation suddenly turned against Arsenal after Middlesbrough scored a goal. They retreated a little bit more. They had no idea of chasing after the victory, and they did not want to take advantage of Arsenal's one less player to expand the score advantage. It can be seen that the players and coaches of Middlesbrough are very calm and sober. He has his own firm tactical philosophy for the away game against Arsenal, and in this way, after Arsenal loses one person, they have fewer options to face the opponent's tighter iron barrel formation. Feng was also speechless. Are your teammates trying to act like themselves? What the hell are you doing at Middlesbrough? Why are you tackling that ball? Just let him in. What a big deal. It's not the last minute of the game. Feng had just promised the head coach that he could definitely lead the team to victory. As a result, 272 was directly suppressed in the reserve team, so that he would never be reincarnated and could only play in a game like the League Cup. As a result, as soon as the front foot was guaranteed, his teammates on the back foot made it difficult for Feng. Chapter 243. Feng's strategy. You can't rely on others, you have to rely on yourself. At this time, the first half has just reached 26 minutes, and there will be nearly 20 minutes left. Even if Arsenal wants to make tactical adjustments, they have to wait until the half-time break to return. We can only go to the locker room. Now we can only let the players on the right return to the center to strengthen the thickness of the center, but as a result, it will be more difficult for Arsenal to use the width of the stadium. Originally it would have been most appropriate to have the players on the left recover, but now everyone has seen it. On the right side of Middlesbrough, there is a player with such a strong impact. After one player is reduced, Traoré, why doesn't it take off? No one expected that the other party actually had such a big killer weapon. Just looking at Traoré's image, no one would know that he is so fast and his dribbling skills are so skillful. Without one person, Arsenal's offensive efficiency will be even lower in this regard. Feng could only withdraw from the Middlesbrough penalty area and retreat to get the ball. However, after Feng got the ball in the midfield position, it was difficult to turn around. Middlesbrough's defensive players kept interfering with Feng like crazy unless Feng can connect 3 or 4 people in the middle. In order to get a chance to shoot, all Feng can do is to control the football as much as possible and prevent the control of the football from being destroyed by the Middlesbrough players. In the end, I had to send it back. Is this God trying to kill me? How do you kick this thing? Even if Su Feng used his own skills, he turned around and saw at a glance that everything he saw was densely packed with legs, and even a shot from this position is unreliable. It is too far away. The goalkeeper has enough time to move over and get the ball. Su Feng was also thinking quickly how to break this situation. Not to mention that it doesn't have to be a goal in the first half, but it should at least give the coach some hope. But Su Feng silently took stock of all the skills he possessed, and it seemed that he didn't have the skills to score the ball among thousands of troops by himself. The opponent's defense is really too dense. Unlike Swansea, they occasionally attack, which can give Su Feng some opportunities. Suddenly, Su Feng had an idea and thought of a way. Although it is difficult to score directly now, it can create opportunities indirectly soon. Su Feng retreated again to ask for the ball. Middlesbrough's defensive players also followed Su Feng out. They are very experienced and follow Su Feng out. As long as Su Feng catches the ball, they will immediately try to go around and defend, or they will deeply interfere with Su Feng. Once they failed, they would immediately retreat. When Su Feng turned around, they would face heavy iron-blooded defense again, but Su Feng did not stop the ball like before, giving Middlesbrough's defensive players no hope of destroying the ball. Seeing Su Feng stop the ball seemed a bit big for Middlesbrough's defensive players. Unable to resist, he stretched out his kick, hoping to knock the ball away and destroy Su Feng's control. At the moment when Middlesbrough's defensive player was about to touch the football, Su Feng kicked it first, changing the trajectory of the football. The defensive player could only kick Su Feng in the leg. Beep, the referee's whistle sounded. Read more novels by visiting our website Night Novels. Set piece, foul committed by Middlesbrough defender. The only way Su Feng could think of was to cause fouls. Arsenal has many free kick masters, such as Cazorla, who is a bipedal monster who can kick free kicks with both left and right feet. At present, Su Feng is not willing to ask for skills in this field, and can only place his hopes on Cazorla. The spot where the Middlesbrough defensive player committed the foul was about 25 to 6 meters away from the straight line of the goal. It's just that the location is slightly to the left. The distance is also a little further. If it advances 5 meters further, it will be a very good opportunity for Cazorla. Facing the opponent's intensive defense, set kicks are naturally a very good opportunity to score goals. Players with good headers from Koscielny also ran towards the Middlesbrough penalty area. This also causes Middlesbrough goalkeeper Victor Vallers to have some judgment problems. Before Cazorla's ball was freed, he didn't know whether it was a tactical free kick or a direct free kick. Su Feng did not enter the penalty area. He stood on the edge of the penalty area. Arsenal usually practice a lot of set-piece tactics. Su Feng is a very good header player. Naturally, there is no shortage of opportunities to score goals from set pieces. But so far, Su Feng has scored relatively few headers in the game. This is mainly due to Su Feng's previous playing style. In this match, Su Feng was willing to fight tooth and nail. He is now outside the penalty area. This is the third set of Arsenal set-piece tactics. When you stand in the penalty area, Middlesbrough's defensive players will naturally mark you closely, just like Koscielny has been hung up on by Middlesbrough's defensive players. At that time, even if you accurately determine the trajectory of the football, you may not be able to jump. But Su Feng's position was different. In his position, he stood outside the penalty area and there was no Middlesbrough defensive player to mark him closely. After Cazorla freed the ball, Su Feng attacked from the back row. In this way, it would be difficult for Middlesbrough players to guard Su Feng, and there were Arsenal players doing it for Su Feng. Pick and roll blocking the Middlesbrough defenders who stopped Su Feng from rushing forward. Su Feng broke into the attack from the back row. It can also gain greater impact, allowing Su Feng to jump higher and gain a greater strength bonus when heading the ball towards the goal. Although Su Feng was already 1.88 meters tall at this time, the style of football he usually played was too elegant. In fact, Middlesbrough's threat to Su Feng's high-altitude ball was underestimated. This can be regarded as a stereotype. I think Su Feng's playing style is calm, elegant and unrestrained. It doesn't quite fit in with this method of directly heading the ball to the goal. In addition, Su Feng was standing outside the penalty area, which was relatively not a dangerous zone, so no players deliberately marked Su Feng. Cazorla stood far away from the ball. In fact, he still felt that it was a bit reluctant to shoot directly from this distance, and it was already beyond the range he was accustomed to. So it was definitely a tactical free kick, but in order to confuse Middlesbrough, he had to stand up and stay away from the ball to give the illusion that he was going to shoot hard. After the referee dealt with all kinds of pushing and shoving between Arsenal and Middlesbrough players in the penalty area, the referee blew the whistle and Arsenal could take a set kick. After taking a deep breath, Cazorla took a run up and then decisively kicked the football into the penalty area. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, It means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 244. Bombing. Cazorla's corner kick was very fast and went straight to the back of the penalty area. After the ball was sent, apart from his teammates, some people guessed where Cazorla would play. Middlesbrough's players need to determine the direction of the ball's flight in the shortest possible time, and then organize their defense, of course, even though Cazorla had already given a signal when he took the penalty kick, allowing some teammates to guess where he would kick it. This has nothing to do with the player's footwork. The footwork of pointing where to hit may not be able to head every shot in actual combat. After all, if you want a ball to be quickly passed into the penalty area without being destroyed by the defensive players, you have to use a lot of force to pass it, and if you use too much force, you may make mistakes. But when the ball is released, none of this matters. The most important thing is to see who can touch the ball in the first time. Was it destroyed by Middlesbrough players, or was it pushed out by Arsenal players? Cazorla's penalty was very bad. Although it was aimed at the back post, there was an arc that made Middlesbrough's goalkeeper afraid to come out at this time. Feng had already rushed towards the penalty area when Cazorla took the penalty. Although some Middlesbrough defensive players saw Feng rushing into the penalty area and wanted to block him, they were blocked by Arsenal players. This is the pick-and-roll tactic when Feng was running. He also activated Haaland's sprinting skills. Middlesbrough's defensive players were either blocked by Arsenal players, or they were squeezed away by Feng when they were about to stop Feng. Finally, Feng started to take off from the edge of the small penalty area. At this time, the ball was still a few meters away from Feng. Feng took off early. He was still gliding in the air and camped at the highest point. It looked like he was flying. Middlesbrough's players took off even later because they didn't have Feng's ability to stay in the air, but their jumping height was far from high enough. After jumping up, it was less than Feng's chin. Everyone saw Feng gliding in the air for a certain distance, waiting for the ball to come to him, and then he hit it hard with his head. This distance is already very close, only 2 or 3 meters away. The Middlesbrough goalkeeper had no time to react. He couldn't even reach out his hand in vain and make a gesture. He just stood with his legs crossed. The ball was directly headed into the net by Feng. Not long after, Middlesbrough scored a penalty and Arsenal was sent off. Arsenal took advantage of a set piece to equalize the score. Goal. Goal. This ball is so beautiful. Feng showed everyone what it means to stay in the air. If Feng can be regarded as a high-altitude bombing, then the Middlesbrough players can only. It can be called a reconnaissance aircraft. Feng's core strength is very strong. I always thought that Feng's physical fitness needed to be improved, but I didn't expect that his core strength was so strong that he could stay in the air for so long. Since then, read more novels by visiting our website Night Novels. To a certain extent, this can be regarded as the execution of Arsenal's tactics better. After Feng rushed up, basically no one could stop him. The driving force of a run-up made him jump so high. Even if a god comes, this ball can't be stopped. It's so powerful. It hits so accurately, and it's so close. Cazorla's ball was so accurate that he found Feng directly in the crowd. That point, Wu Xiao? Feng is going to change his route and prepare to take a violent route. Although Feng only scored the equalizing goal, you must know that Arsenal now has one less player on the court. Equalizing the score in a short period of time is a good thing for Arsenal, and it will greatly help improve morale. This goal can be said to be very inspiring. Even Wenger on the side of the court couldn't help clenching his fists when he saw the goal scored, and he celebrated the goal with a very excited expression. Feng played a little differently today. He seemed to be playing very hard. Arsenal directly activated Feng after missing one player. I thought Feng could only stand and play, but it turns out he can also run. Huo Jiujian can actually see Feng sprinting. This scene is rare. Others sprint 7 to 8 times per game. Feng only sprints 7 to 8 times in the entire season. Feng said over there must be more than 7 to 8 sprints in the season. The fans were just making fun of it, and it has become a meme. Although it was just an equalizer at this time, every Arsenal fan was in a good mood. What's more satisfying than tying the score when you're behind? What's more, the team does not have an advantage in numbers now. The human heart is inherently delicate. When you are happy, most of the time things develop better than expected. Arsenal fell behind and still had one less player to play. The fans' expectations for the team were naturally lowered. Under this situation, Feng, who never ran much, scored in a sprint. A powerful header naturally made the fans overjoyed, of course. After scoring a goal, Feng still celebrated on the spot. Unlike other players who sprinted, slid and knelt, and went to the corner kick area to celebrate with the fans after scoring, Feng didn't have so many unnecessary movements. Just stand there and hug your teammates, or point your fingers to the sky, and that's it. The players of Middlesbrough were also depressed. Not long after they took the lead, they were equalized by Arsenal, and they scored a very un-Arsenal goal. This kind of violent headbutt doesn't look like Arsenal's style, and it doesn't even look like Feng's style. Feng can now be said to be a representative figure of elegant football. Now he scores a violent headbutt. This is to subvert his character. Although Feng has not scored goals like this before, in recent times, Feng has become lazier and lazier as he plays, showing off his skills more and more. Piers Morgan even said on his personal social media that Feng is the most energetic and elegant player since Ronaldinho retired. As a result, Feng turned around and delivered a violent headbutt. The Middlesbrough players were stunned. It was promised that the Renaissance would be bombed by bombers. Right, Middlesbrough restarts at this time. They were also more cautious. There is no hope for 3 points, so let's go to the head office for 1 point. Although Arsenal quickly equalized the score, no matter what, Arsenal now has one less player to play. Although he still has the initiative on the court, it is not that easy to score another goal. Chapter 245. The tireless Feng. In addition, after one person is missing, the loyal operation will certainly be a lot unfamiliar, and there is no way to use the width of the stadium. In the next few minutes, Arsenal's offense also came to a standstill. No one has a good chance, especially now that Middlesbrough is keeping a closer eye on Feng. This guy is really the kind of person who shines brightly when given a little sunshine. He didn't stare at him for a while, but Feng took advantage of him. However, Feng now has a firm belief in setting the ball and getting the head start. As long as Middlesbrough had no way to intercept in advance, his teammates passed the ball to Feng, and Feng broke through after taking the ball, and he used his flexible running position to shuttle back and forth on the left, middle and right from time to time. It can be said that Feng outperformed two people by himself at this time. The fans watching the game felt like they were sleepwalking. Am I dreaming today? Is this still Feng? Why does it feel so fantasy? I slapped my wife, and she really came over to scratch me. It was not a dream. Feng, you ate something wrong today. You should take the medicine. Why are you so active? Is Feng planning to make up for all the runs he missed in the previous games in today's game? I just took a look, and it seems that the betting aspect has reduced Feng's runs in every game. The distance link has been turned off, and you can no longer place bets. Did Feng buy himself? With Feng going back and forth and tirelessly seeking opportunities, Feng really got it. Several times, he took control of the football and broke directly into Middlesbrough's sensitive areas without saying a word. He got 2 opportunities for set kicks in a row, but now it's not that simple for Feng to replicate the violent header he used before. The number of people following him has increased, and they deliberately prevent Feng from rushing. Coupled with Cazorla's passes, one pass was big and the other was small. If the pass was too big, it went directly out of the baseline. If it was too small, it was intercepted by the person in front. Feng didn't get another chance to header. Even so, the Middlesbrough players were left scrambling. It turns out that when defending Feng, you only need to guard Feng's dominant foot. Everyone has analyzed the level of Feng's left-footed shooting, which happened many times, but they didn't expect that Feng's shooting skills were so strong. This also makes it exponentially more difficult for Middlesbrough players to defend later. The Middlesbrough players learned the lesson and would rather let Feng shoot from an angle rather than give Arsenal a free kick in a sensitive area. Feng carried Middlesbrough's defensive players with several long-range shots. One kick missed, and 2 others hit the defensive player. Without breaking into the penalty area, accuracy cannot be guaranteed. Everyone went back to the locker room at halftime. Read more novels by visiting our website Night Novels. Wenger first praised the performance of the players on the field, including Feng, because everyone shouldered the responsibility of their teammates even after one player was missing. Judging from the content on the field, it was completely impossible to tell that Arsenal was the side missing one person. Instead, they thought Middlesbrough was the side missing one person. We didn't have a very good start today. After Xhaka received a red card, we had one less player. However, we were all very motivated and used our tireless running to make up for the disadvantage of one less player. In this game, we under the watchful eyes of the home fans, there is no reason not to win, even if there is one less person. Boys, when you walk out of here in the second half, You must have the belief that you will win. We have to tell the fans that their tickets were not in vain. Coach Wenger is still a little bit worse at motivating players. Some Arsenal players listened, and some Arsenal players disagreed. They played only for their own wages, not for the fans. Su Feng aspires to become a superstar, so the fans are naturally the group that Su Feng needs to pay attention to. Driven by Su Feng, other players also ran tirelessly, instantly making up for Arsenal's disadvantage of one less player. At least in terms of the coverage of the court, there is no problem. Su Feng can also take on the responsibilities of the right winger. The second half begins again. Su Feng was still running very fast and aggressively as in the first half. Fans could even see Su Feng continuously fighting for passes from several Middlesbrough players. Even when Middlesbrough players used passes to mobilize him, just like walking a dog, Su Feng had no intention of giving up. Wu Kao, what's going on with Su Feng today? I'm really not used to being so active all of a sudden. I'm a little scared. Things are abnormal and it's a monster. Is Su Feng possessed by a ghost? Su Feng is like a god of war. Did you see that? Driven by Su Feng, the entire Arsenal team started running. Those who didn't know thought that Arsenal had one more people. Su Feng did not do anything in the second half. His performance dropped, even though Su Feng was not used to this impactful style of kicking for a long time. It can be said that in terms of player responsibilities, Su Feng has also changed himself from a standing center to a forward style of play. It can be said that every ball must be chased. There is one ball that was passed by an Arsenal player. Even the Middlesbrough players slowed down when chasing, because anyone with a discerning eye could see that the ball was obviously about to go out of the baseline, and there was no way to catch it back. However, Su Feng still strode forward at a sprinting speed, and with his last sliding tackle, he knocked the football back from the baseline. At this time, the ball was only a few millimeters away from going out of bounds. This fighting spirit really infected the audience. After watching Su Feng's ball for so long, when had he ever seen Su Feng fight so hard? In the past, many Arsenal fans were not very fond of it. Unlike Su Feng, they feel that Su Feng can only score goals. If Su Feng does not score goals on the court, then his effect on the team will be counterproductive and will have no effect at all. They felt that Su Feng was actually a cancer, waiting for his teammates to find good opportunities for him to score goals. However, today Su Feng overturned their views in less than one game. This kind of hard work can no longer be explained by professionalism. Even after Su Feng hooked the ball back, his teammates thought the ball would never come back, so they didn't keep up. As a result, Su Feng couldn't find his teammates to cooperate. After he hooked the ball back in the end, he could only shoot by himself, which did not pose much of a threat, but the Arsenal fans in the entire stadium still gave Su Feng thunderous applause. Chapter 246. Cute contrast. Su Feng was almost moved to death. If it weren't for the system's ridiculous coolness and forcing Su Feng to play slowly, he would really like to sprint 100 times in every game to repay the fans' applause. So he worked even more tirelessly to find opportunities to score goals in the front court. This can exhaust Middlesbrough's defenders and defensive players. Now the truth is that Su Feng is a top-notch troublemaker. Every time Arsenal passed a ball forward, Su Feng did his best to sprint forward to chase the ball. He drove the entire Middlesbrough defense to run by himself. There's no way this thing can stop running. If Su Feng catches up, he will be in big trouble. In the 70th minute of the second half, Wenger made another substitution adjustment. At this time, Middlesbrough had also completed all substitution adjustments. There was no way. Su Feng was always there to stir things up. Middlesbrough's defensive players could no longer keep up with Su Feng's pace. Therefore, the coach can only replace a few athletes whose physical fitness is no longer good. Su Feng's consistent, impactful playing style caused Middlesbrough's defense to stagger, but everyone could see it at this time. Su Feng didn't seem tired. Some experts previously said that the main reason why Su Feng used the standing style of kicking was because Su Feng's physical fitness was not good and he needed to save his own physical energy. Use your physical energy at critical moments. This is mainly caused by Su Feng's long-term smoking, drinking and bad living habits. Therefore, many fans automatically believe that Su Feng is physically challenged as a result. When I looked at Su Feng today, it was not that his physical fitness was not good. His physical fitness was not much worse than other players at all, but that other players seemed to be much worse than Su Feng. If Su Feng can maintain this style of play, even if the goal rate is not so high in the future, I will not criticize him because he works too hard. It's not that Su Feng can't run. Why didn't he run before? You know nothing. Since you can win the game without running, isn't it economical? Why do you have to run like a dog? In this game, Xhaka received a red card so early and was sent off. Su Feng didn't. Arsenal can't win if they run. I can only say that Su Feng is very smart and knows how to save energy and win the game. Then why doesn't Su Feng run first? Wait until the team takes the lead before standing down and resting. That's what you say. It means that Su Feng is not dedicated and is not a good professional player. Just when the fans had different opinions and sometimes fierce disputes broke out, Su Feng once again took control of the football. He passed the ball back and then ran forward with his head covered. It sent a signal to his teammates, that is, let them pass the ball back. This is a very typical V-shaped 1-2. Or it can be said to be a vertical 2-on-1 match. This kind of coordination is very simple, but it is also easy for opponents to see through. But Su Feng ran forward with all his strength every time, which also allowed Arsenal's teammates to pass the ball to Su Feng with a relatively high advance, or pass the ball over the top. Every pass goes a long way. Read more novels by visiting our website Night Novels. The players of Middlesbrough are all speechless. It's almost enough. Every ball is passed like this and you need to sprint to run. It feels like your lungs are on fire, but there was no choice but to chase. If he failed to chase once and Su Feng got the ball, it would be a big deal. Su Feng started to interfere with the game from the beginning, and he didn't just run with Middlesbrough's defensive players. In some set-piece tactics, there is also a physical confrontation with Middlesbrough's defensive players. This kind of confrontation consumes a lot of physical energy. Su Feng's physical fitness is not strong, but he can use Haaland's sprint skill. So basically Su Feng can't use up much physical energy in the confrontation. Instead, Middlesbrough's defensive players consumed a lot of energy. This time Su Feng tried his best to chase the ball behind him. Two of Middlesbrough's starting defensive players could no longer run. Their legs felt like lead. One of them had cramp 2 minutes ago. If Su Feng's previous goals were a technical knockdown, this time he was completely crushed by his body. It was simply unreasonable, a completely different style. And the Middlesbrough coach was stunned. Before the game, I imagined various situations and conducted in-depth research on Su Feng. Seeing Xhaka get a red card, our side scored another penalty kick, thinking that they could get at least 1 point in this game. In the end, I didn't expect that there was something wrong with Su Feng. Is this person Su Feng? Couldn't he be Su Feng's twin brother? How could the same person's playing style change so much? Su Feng's biggest ball was on the baseline again. He couldn't hook it back, so he simply swept it with one kick. The returned Middlesbrough player took a baseline corner kick. At this time, Su Feng was also surrounded by Middlesbrough defensive players. Everyone knows that his jumping ability is amazing, and his header is very accurate. Arsenal's numerical disadvantage was made up for by the tireless running of their opponents. But there is still no way to make up for this in set pieces. Middlesbrough can also use a few more man-to-man markings to focus on key targets. At this time, Su Feng fought for more than 70 minutes. And to be honest, it was a bit too much. Even if he used his skills to make up for it, Su Feng's physical fitness was only 69 after all. Originally, Su Feng felt that this value was enough for his style. Now I really have the feeling that I will miss the buck when I use it. Although Su Feng looked very calm on the surface, as if he had just come on stage, in fact Su Feng felt that his lungs were on fire and his physical fitness had reached its limit. I almost felt cramped in my ball just now. However, as the saying goes, a man who travels 100 miles is only half a mile, and now Arsenal just equalized the score. He still needs to score one more goal to win this game, and Su Feng needs to grit his teeth and persevere no matter what. Whatever you said, the promises you made, and the pretense you put on, you must keep your words. After the corner kick was taken, it fell into Middlesbrough's penalty area, and Koscielny made a mistake. Even with the Middlesbrough defenders closely marking him, he still hit the ball. However, the defensive player on the goal line of Middlesbrough was pushed out again. There was chaos in the restricted area during the entanglement. The ball dramatically came to Su Feng's side. This was still a semi-high ball, and Su Feng was thinking of it. Without saying a word, he volleyed with a kick. The Middlesbrough players subconsciously tried to stop it. Two people came and one of them closed the door. Chapter 247. Out of gas, but he didn't expect that Su Feng could think divergently at that moment. Instead of heading the ball directly towards the goal, he kicked a bounce ball, bouncing off the crotch of one of the Middlesbrough defenders towards the goal. The goalkeeper is most afraid of this kind of ball, and it is difficult to judge because when the football bounces on the grass, it is already very close to the goal, and before it bounces, you don't know which direction it will bounce to or how high it will bounce. All reactions need to be done after the ball bounces, but the distance is already very close, leaving very little reaction time for the goalkeeper. Coupled with Su Feng's volley, he consciously pulled the ball a little bit, which also caused the ball to deviate in the direction of rotation when it bounced. Even though the goalkeeper tried his best to pounce in the direction of the ball rebounding, He still couldn't stop it. 2-1, boom. The entire Emirates Stadium burst into loud cheers seeing the ball hit Feng. This time it hit the ground directly. He is also at the end of his strength now and really has no strength left. The fans were also confused. When Feng celebrated before, it was already outrageous. He was not as excited as other players. He just stood there and posed casually. Now he just lay down on the ground after scoring. Arsenal players are also very good at playing tricks. After Sanchez ran over, he made a gesture of covering Feng with a quilt. However, the quilt only covered Feng's chest at first, and then Sanchez smiled evilly and made a gesture of pulling the quilt up to cover Feng's face. The fans were also speechless. This is a dead end, right? I can't stop laughing. What a pair of treasures. Under such circumstances, Arsenal can still reverse the game. This season has also shown its kingly spirit. Xhaka is still amazing. How did Feng play before? He didn't even break a sweat, and Feng's clothes were soaked through in this game. Xhaka forced Feng to use his real skills. Finally I saw where Feng's limit is. I used to put it aside to maintain health. Then in the studio, the commentator was analyzing Feng's shot. Now the slow motion of Feng's goal has been played on the big screen. Only then can everyone see more details. Zhang laughed and said, I've told Feng before. Although he is a bit lazy, he is a very cerebral player. You see, after the ball bounced over, he didn't just kick it casually. He took aim first. When I got to the goal, I found a defensive player from Middlesbrough, so I deliberately hid a bounce ball. If this ball was shot directly, it would definitely not be scored. At this time, there were only about 10 minutes before the end of the game. An easy victory for Middlesbrough finally came to nothing due to Feng's tireless running. Next, Middlesbrough finally got out of the turtle shell. Prepare to use the remaining time to see if there is a chance to equalize the score. After all, they still have one more person. The result already looked shaky and almost unable to run. Feng sent another assist 2 minutes later to help Sanchez score a goal. Finally, in stoppage time, Middlesbrough scored a goal, rewriting the score to 2-3. In the end, Arsenal defeated the visiting Middlesbrough 3-2 at home after conceding a goal first and with one player missing as no one expected. The MVP of this game was given to Feng. Read more novels by visiting our website Night Novels. Feng was really tired today. After the game, his eyes were a little dark. 69's physical fitness was really stretched to the limit. A lot of lactic acid accumulated throughout the body, making Feng feel that no part of his body was comfortable. After reluctantly joining his teammates to greet the home fans, Feng carried the MVP crystal trophy back to the locker room. On the way, when he met the media for interviews, Feng didn't bother to pay attention to them, and kept waving with his hands raised. Leave me alone, I just want to find a place to lie down now. Back to the next time, Wenger had already asked the team's masseur to wait here, and immediately gave Feng a massage to relax him. Although Feng is usually a bit lazy, when something really happens, Feng really works hard. This alone has made all the grievances in the hearts of those players on the team who are usually dissatisfied with playing with elbows disappear, including Wenger. Fortunately, Feng does not have to play in the next English League Cup match against Reading and can have a good rest. The next game is not until October 29. Feng had nearly a week's rest, so I took a day off. The first day of training was also a rehabilitative training, especially when Feng was left to do some small work. The team's rehabilitation physiotherapist gave Feng massages for several days in a row. In order to actively eliminate the large amount of lactic acid accumulated in Feng's body on October 28, Feng followed the team to the away game, and they were going to face the Black Cats Sunderland. Originally, Arsenal could come to Sunderland for this game on the 29th. After all, London is less than 500 kilometers away from Sunderland. The whole drive only takes 5 hours, but since this is the Premier League, the first game of the 10th round is an early game. It started at 6:00 p.m. Considering that the players need to get enough rest, it would be too tight to rush there that day. So I came to Sunderland one day in advance and spent a night in a hotel near the Stadium of Light, Sunderland's home stadium. In order to save money, 2 players share a room. Feng and Giroud were in the same room. It was past 9 o'clock in the evening, and Giroud hadn't come back yet, and he didn't know where he went to hunt for women. Giroud has many netizens, and I have to say that the French are extremely romantic. Taking advantage of the fact that his wife is not around today, Giroud certainly has to indulge a little bit. Feng also ordered a massage service. This is a hangover from the last game. The Arsenal team's physiotherapist who provides physical therapy to the players, after giving Feng a massage, Su Feng felt really comfortable, so after Su Feng returned home, he also specially found a masser to give him a massage. It turned out that Su Feng was not skilled enough and ordered the wrong service. A mature masseuse came and things got out of hand, of course, don't get it wrong, mainly because Su Feng found out. When a masseur of the opposite sex massaged him, his physical energy actually increased slightly. Isn't this great? So after staying at the hotel in Sunderland, Su Feng decided not to waste time. He also asked a masseur to massage him for 2 hours and increase his physical fitness by 0.002. As a result, a masseur who was as big as a hippopotamus came and beat Su Feng to death. It was after 10 o'clock that Jirao came back and rescued Su Feng. "How are you?" Jirao asked with concern as he looked at the dying Su Feng. "Don't tell me, my hands are so strong. It was a bit overwhelming at the time, but now I feel a little better." Then I asked her to come back. Jirao picked up the phone. "Room 1607, massage service, the same technician just now, come back 2 hours. Zheed, shut up and hang up the phone." Chapter 248. Fan surge. Since Su Feng joined Arsenal, he has attracted quite a few fans with his unique style. Now Su Feng also has many nicknames. The Lazy King is one of them. There is also a man named King Zhuang of Chu. However, judging from Su Feng's performance in the last game, these two nicknames were completely overturned. Only then did the fans realize that Su Feng was also able to run tirelessly on the court. I don't know why it has attracted the love of a large number of fans. This also left Su Feng quite speechless. It's like a person who has been doing good things all of a sudden does something bad. The character immediately collapsed. The first person has been doing bad things, but suddenly he does a good thing, and his reputation immediately changes, making people think that he is not entirely a bad person, but quite cute. Su Feng has always played a rather lazy style of play, but when the team was in crisis, Su Feng also tried his best to help the team win. Inexplicably, he became a cute point among some fans. Originally, Su Feng only had a lot of fans in Asia. After this cute feature appeared, the number of fans around the world has increased significantly, including in some areas that don't like Asians very much. Su Feng's popularity has also increased very quickly. There are even some users on YouTube who have uploaded several representative videos. One of them is about a black guy who met an Asian stall owner while shopping for $0. He actually returned the things, saying that he was a fan of Su Feng. Although this thing doesn't mean anything, it doesn't even have anything to do with positive energy, but it can be said that Su Feng's popularity in the United States has indeed increased significantly. The last time Arsenal played a home game, even well-known American internet celebrities like Kim Kardashian came to enjoy the popularity, which explains something, and even a die-hard Tottenham Hotspur fan like Adele came to watch the Arsenal game, which can explain something. Of course, Adele said afterwards that she came to see it with his friend. Her friend is a fan of Su Feng, but everyone knows the relationship between Tottenham Hotspur and Arsenal. You can accompany your friends to watch Arsenal games looking at Su Feng's game. This can also explain how popular Su Feng is in London and North London. Now the game is at Sunderland. Sunderland is a small place, just a small town in Thailand where it is a port city with few historical places or attractions. It is usually difficult for them to attract enough fans at their home court, but this game was full of holes. The stadium was overcrowded, and most of them were Chinese fans who came from all over England to watch Su Feng play. Read more novels by visiting our website Night Novels. Today, the media also discovered that there are also some internet celebrities from Europe and the United States. To be honest, although Su Feng is currently playing well at Arsenal, his status and history cannot be said to be the highest among Asian players. Although Su Feng's current transfer fee is indeed the highest among all Asian players, far exceeding the 30 million euros of Asia's South Korean King Sun Heung-min. It also broke the transfer fee of Hidetoshi Nakata, who previously had the highest transfer fee in Asia when he transferred to Parma. But in terms of celebrity status, they are definitely not as good as Park Ji-sung and Kagawa Shinji. After all, they play for the Red Devils, and Park Ji-sung has won the Champions League and is the main force in Manchester United. Even though Su Feng has established a foothold in Arsenal now, in fact, he still cannot surpass some of his domestic seniors like Lao Fan. This guy was the captain of Crystal Palace and earned the highest salary in the team. Zhang Zihi's team in the Premier League. Charlton also served as the core midfielder. Although Yazan has achieved certain results at Arsenal, it will take time and accumulation of achievements to surpass these seniors. Of course, judging from the current trend, it is only a matter of time before Su Feng surpasses them. The competitor is the South Korean King Sun Heung-min of Tottenham Hotspur next door. However, Su Feng has indeed attracted a large number of fans with his unique playing style. Some of them are not die-hard fans, but they are the most enthusiastic about Su Feng, especially those who are internet celebrities, because Su Feng is even more attractive. There is something topical about him, therefore, it is not surprising that the media discovered many well-known internet celebrities outside the home stadium of Black Cat Sunderland. There will be more and more of these people in the future, unless one day the topicality of Su Feng slowly weakens and disappears. These talents will disappear where Arsenal plays. Su Feng and his teammates came to the court early. They needed to step on the court. In fact, they had already conducted an acclimatization training on the court in the morning. However, in order to be sure of success in the competition, it is better to adapt more. Outside the stadium, Cheyenne fans signed autographs and took photos. A large part of the fans are domestic fans. They study or work in England, and some study or work in European countries. However, because the whole of Europe, in fact, the transportation is relatively convenient, so it is more convenient for them to come to England with an EU passport, not to mention local students and office workers in England. When they come to Sunderland, they can just take the train. I am here just to support Su Feng. Su Feng had nothing to repay, so he could only do his best. Give them as many autographs as possible and take photos with them. Meet more people. There is no other way. As a player, you can only do so much. You can't kneel down and kowtow to everyone. Someone took out the 5-star red flag, but Su Feng said that signing on the flag was disrespectful to the flag. After all, the red flag represents the blood of the revolutionary martyrs. Hearing what Su Feng said, many fans were in awe. Su Feng was more considerate, and Su Feng also appealed to the fans who entered the stadium with little red flags. You must take the small red flag with you when you leave, and do not throw it casually in the stadium. Su Feng didn't want to be such a mother-in-law. Of course, there were some things that had to be done. As a public figure, one had to set an example. This is also the reason why Su Feng, although he has not given up smoking and drinking, is now becoming more and more hidden. Now whenever Su Feng is interviewed by the media, there are always some reporters who will maliciously ask Su Feng if he has quit smoking and drinking. Su Feng didn't want to answer such a question at all. If you said you had quit smoking and drinking, but then the media discovered that you were still drinking and smoking, then your character would be ruined. Chapter 249. Fan Surge 2. If you say you haven't given up smoking and drinking, they will say you have set a bad example for young people. In fact, this is none of Su Feng's business. He has the ability to stop the country from selling tobacco and alcohol. Therefore, La Fanti also shared the same caliber with Su Feng and announced it to the outside world. Now it has been slowly reduced. After all, it is definitely impossible to achieve it overnight, so reduce the intake. For example, if you reduce smoking to 1 cigarette a day or 1 cigarette a day, the harm to your body will be very small. Drinking a few ounces a day may also be helpful to your health. This statement is also of some benefit to Su Feng. Even if Su Feng is photographed by the media, smoking and drinking, it doesn't matter. So being a public figure is very tiring. Su Feng felt that dealing with the fans was a bit more tiring than his own training. He had to laugh and sign autographs. His hands were almost dislocated. He had never written so many words when he was doing homework in school. His face felt stiff when he smiled. Su Feng seriously suspected that it would cause wrinkles on his face to appear prematurely, but there is no way. If you want to become a superstar, become someone who surpasses Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo, become someone who surpasses Maradona and Pelé, become the emperor of football. This step is essential. We already have systems in place. If we can't do this, it would be a huge failure. You must be ambitious to be a human being, otherwise Su Feng's current ability is enough. There is no need to work so hard. Why do you smoke and drink so hard every day? Isn't it just to improve your ability and become the king of the ball? Sunderland's home ground is very unique and the pitch is very narrow. This is not conducive to Su Feng's team's offensive style of play. Of course, for Su Feng, who now has absolute ball skills, doing a dojo in a screw shell is just a piece of cake. In a narrow space, Su Feng can still complete very precise technical movements. Su Feng is not worried about this. The only problem that causes trouble is that Arsenal's clearance cannot be expanded. Therefore, teammates will not be so smooth when cooperating with Su Feng. Sunderland's goalkeeper is number 13 Pickford. This is a very young goalkeeper, but judging from his performance in previous games, he is still quite talented to break Pickford's goal. Su Feng has to show his strength. Black Cats Sunderland is also known as the satellite team of Manchester United. There are many second-tier stars or youth training players of Manchester United, and their final destination will be Sunderland, just like the centre-back number 16 O'Shea in their current team was once the main player of Manchester United. Although he is older, With his rich experience and excellent physical fitness, he is still barely qualified for the position of central defender. However, Su Feng had already set his sights on this former champion before the game. Read more novels by visiting our website Night Novels. Physical fitness naturally declines with age, especially for someone like him who is 1 meter 9 tall and cannot keep up with Su Feng. Of course, he should be used as his breakthrough point after all. He is partnered with the Côte d'Ivoire player Feng, who is quite physically strong. Su Feng is still weak. In comparison, it is easier for Australia and Z to break through two full-backs, Van Aanholt on one side and Bill Jones on the other. Although he is not a world-class player, he is still a good role player in the Premier League currently. These middle and lower-tier teams in the Premier League face strong teams like Arsenal, and they all invariably line up a defensive smart. Sunderland is no exception. Also a 451 lineup. They have 5 people in the midfield, with number 8 Rodwell in the middle and Ndong and Pienaar on either side of him. There are 2 full midfielders, one is Whatmore and the other is Hazri, and the forward is veteran Defoe. Su Feng didn't care whether he could win this game or not because the difference in strength is really too great. He only cares about how many goals he can score in this game. Even if Sunderland arranges a defensive lineup at their home court, due to the huge gap in strength between the two teams, Arsenal will definitely be beaten in actual operations, and they can only rely on Defoe to sneak attacks. But Defoe is getting older and is not as strong as before thanks to Su Feng. Sunderland's home stadium was also full, and there were even a large number of fans who came to watch Su Feng. They couldn't buy tickets and could only watch the big screen outside the stadium to help Su Feng cheer up. It has to be said that Su Feng has helped the Sunderland government to greatly improve their local economy. Sunderland is actually a satellite team of Manchester United, so of course when it comes to Arsenal, it is even more serious. They also shoulder the mission of sniping Arsenal. Of course, Manchester United no longer has the strength to win the Premier League championship. However, Sunderland must fight tooth and nail when meeting Arsenal. This tradition still exists. It's just that Su Feng is currently playing well at Arsenal and getting better and better at present. The cooperation with several people is becoming more and more tacit. After the game started, Arsenal took the lead. A series of exquisite cooperation advanced to the front court, and Sanchez passed the ball diagonally to the midfield position. Cazorla didn't stop the ball and just kicked it through. Su Feng stood between Sunderland's 2 central defenders. Facing the incoming ball, he stopped with his right foot and immediately pushed forward with his left foot. The entire action was done in one go, leaving no chance for Sunderland's 2 defenders to come forward and disrupt it. Pickford struggled to save the ball. There was a sound of regret in the stadium, which seemed to be the home stadium of Arsenal. The most important thing was that more than half of the more than 20,000 home fans were Su Feng fans. It can be seen from their clothes. All of them are wearing Arsenal jerseys. Many people also held small red flags in their hands. This is also a benefit brought by Su Feng after joining Arsenal. He can always correct the number of fans in away games to a point where they are evenly matched. After all, away fans can only buy a few thousand tickets. Some stadiums are relatively small and only sell 1,000 tickets to away fans. The own team will count half of the votes first, and then all the tickets will be from local and variety shows. Fans can buy it, but now Su Feng's fans don't follow martial ethics. They buy tickets from the cities where the football is played, and buy those neutral tickets from local fans at a high price. Even some fans with season tickets sell their own ticket packages to Chinese fans, so this means that when playing with Arsenal, whether it is home or away, Arsenal fans always have an absolute advantage. Chapter 250. Whose home field is this? This game is no exception. Who makes Chinese fans rich? Seeing that Su Feng's first shot was so smooth and wonderful, but failed to score a goal, Arsenal and Su Feng fans couldn't help but sigh with regret. But not long after, Arsenal made a comeback again. This time O'Shea wanted to use his strong body to block Su Feng and prevent Su Feng from turning around, but he did not expect that Su Feng did not have martial ethics. He basically didn't turn around and just turned his back to the goal and used a shuttlecock kick. Although Pickford reacted very quickly, Su Feng's shooting action was too hidden. He didn't even react before the goal was breached, and he didn't even make a save. The fans in the audience suddenly burst into excitement. Zhang Jun praised Su Feng had a sudden idea and shot a very concealed shot. Although O'Shea had blocked Su Feng from behind, he did not expect that Su Feng could shoot without turning around. This kick, it's not easy to kick the ball with power. It can be seen that Su Feng is very flexible. Zhang He said, "Hey, most people can only stop this kind of ball and then hand it to their teammates. Su Feng is really there's this method, pretending to break through from the left, and suddenly turn to the right. O'Shea must have turned with him, but he didn't expect Su Feng to use a heel hook to shoot. I have been watching football for so many years, and it is really the first. See you next time. As he spoke, Director Zhang laughed again, as if it brought back memories of his past. This action is really a bit like the rubber band jumping action when we were young. Listening to what Director Zhang said, many fans also brought back their childhood memories, especially those older fans born in the 1980s. I also experienced the era of rubber band jumping. If I think about it carefully, it is indeed somewhat similar, but the question is, Su Feng was born in the 1990s. How did he do this? There is a very beautiful misunderstanding here. Su Feng just wanted to use various methods to trigger the volley skill. What Su Feng hates most is ground balls being thrown at his feet, and what he likes most is all kinds of high balls coming his way, various balls that are convenient for Su Feng to trigger volleys. Now all Arsenal players know that Su Feng is famous for not loving ground balls. Why did Su Feng finish the ball just now in one go? Why is the shooting movement so smooth and fast? Make it impossible for Sunderland's defensive players to defend in the first place or to score? No, it was because the ball was a ground ball passed by Cazorla. Although Su Feng had no problem catching it, the volley skill was not triggered, so the accuracy was not that high. That's why it was saved by Pickford. If the ball bounced a little, Su Feng would hit the volley immediately after triggering the volley, unless Pickford could save it even from the blind spot. This time he passed a half-high ball. Of course, Su Feng used a hook that looked awkward to others, but was very comfortable for him, and he easily scored the ball. Read more novels by visiting our website Night Novels. Before Su Feng did such an action, he was not particularly comfortable, but since the volley, this skill has been developed by Su Feng with various trigger points. So Su Feng deliberately trains himself during training. He is very flexible and deliberately uses the ball server to practice his various weird volley shooting movements. If it is higher than Su Feng at the waist will be hooked sideways, or if the scorpion jumps up and swings its tail higher than Su Feng on the chest will make barbs or various diagonal hooks. If it is lower than Su Feng at the waist will kick it in a way similar to a shuttlecock. And there are various flower arrangements to enhance the viewing and concealment. In the words of the opposing goalkeeper, it is simply impossible to guard against. No one knows how Su Feng can shoot the ball. For other players, the goalkeeper at least has a basic prediction, but against Su Feng, you have no idea how he will shoot the ball. There is no way to judge after taking a 1-0 lead. Arsenal played more openly. In addition, many Arsenal fans were also singing the song of Su Feng, which made the Sunderland players as excited as Arsenal's home stadium, because as soon as they got the ball, Arsenal and Su Feng fans booed loudly. Although the fans of Black Cat Sunderland also wanted to fight against the fans of Arsenal, they did not have the advantage in numbers. Moreover, Su Feng's fans are very organized. Su Feng has the largest fan club of all football players in China, with nearly 1 million registered members across the country. Every time I go overseas to watch football, nearly 10,000 people respond. Whether there are fan organizations playing tricks or making all kinds of boos, they are definitely not the kind of spontaneous fans who can resist the cheering gods. There are many people in the country, and the organizational ability is naturally strong. Unlike foreign countries, which advocate freedom and the like, the organizational ability is naturally not as good as that in the country. So naturally it does not have an advantage in the confrontation between the fan groups. Especially a home stadium like Sunderland was instantly attacked by Su Feng fans. It is estimated that only a few wealthy teams in the Premier League, including Tottenham Hotspur, can defend against Su Feng fans. Like other small team stadiums, it can only be said that they will be breached by Su Feng's fans and supporters in minutes. These fans in China are quite powerful and very fanatical. What's more, Su Feng is a bit out of the circle now. He is a young and handsome man who has made a name for himself in the British Peninsula alone. He has immediately attracted many little fairies in the fan circle. The fighting power of these people is naturally foreign, and those loose fans cannot compare. Those so-called young talents can attract countless fans just with their handsome faces. What's more, Su Feng is not only handsome, but also has unique skills such as playing football, and he is very cool when playing football. Therefore, without Su Feng knowing it, Su Feng's domestic fan base has grown exponentially. He has only been playing at Arsenal for less than half a year, and Su Feng's domestic fan base has already exceeded the number of fans such as Chicken Brother and other well-known fresh meat. There is no way, after all, the fat man has connections in Europe and the United States. The Chinese country is not good at attracting fat people, so they don't know about the domestic way of attracting fat people. Su Feng leaves all these things to the fat people to take care of. The fat people don't even know about Su Feng, and they concentrate on smoking, drinking, and playing games at home. Of course he didn't know how to play billiards anymore. Su Feng didn't know how popular he was in China at this time. Sunderland's home court was captured. It could be said that Su Feng's fan base was trying their best. This was also the first time that Su Feng's fan base overran the home fans. End of this chapter. Thank you so much for reading until the end. Don't forget to give it a like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription or donation encourages us to continue. Thank you all. See you in the next video.